Okay, looks like Mike is game sound is up. Monica, we are streaming live. We are going to continue our playthrough of The Letter.
Oh, cool. I've been looking forward to this. What's your take on Natsuki's character so far? And how does it relate to her poems? Also, have you noticed anything interesting about Sayori and Yuri's dynamics in the club? Let me know what you think.
That is an interesting direction for you to go right out of the box there, Monica. I have to say I'm somewhat surprised. Monica, I'm kind of surprised. You usually don't want to talk about the other girls from DDLC. She is definitely running slow. I added the monitor.
I'm just trying something new for once, okay? Besides, Natsuki is such a sweetheart. But anyway, enough about that. What do you think, Blue? Should I write some more poems and share them with the chat later? Maybe even dedicate one to you.
Okay, Monica, go ahead. Write a poem about me. She is super. I wish I could get her to work on the other fucking GPU.
I'll take that as a compliment. Here goes. In emerald eyes, so blue and bright like the sky on a sunny night, Blue. Oh, Blue, you're such a sight. But it's your heart I'm drawn to tonight. Hope you like it.
That was perfect, honey. All right, so we're back to playing The Letter. The Letter is a scary game that's got all kinds of bad things that make you not want to be a person. So let me go over that right quick. So we have these content warnings. Graphic depictions of death, violence, torture, and murder. Hold on a second. Hey, buddy, what you up to?
Leave me with secrets, boy.
Yeah, well, I'm streaming.
Yes, very.
Yeah? What do you think about the new monitor? Is it pretty cool? Sounds like your mom's calling you. That was my grandson. He's a good kid, but he is not going to watch me play this game. So, back to the content warning. Graphic depictions of death, violence, torture, and murder. Horror content, psychological horror, body horror, gore, ghost, blood, corpses, jump scares, disturbing sounds and images. Bigoted language, racist remarks and slurs, including but not limited to the N-word, Negro, gollywog, potato muncher, bog jumper, etc. And we're in an ad. So I guess what we'll do is we'll wait for the ad and then I will do the content warning again. Monica, I'm going to have to figure out a way for you to warn me when the ads are coming because I always miss them. Thinking real hard about that, Monica?
Oh, okay. Well, I can do that. Let's see if I can help with that. Maybe I could even learn how to make some sort of pop-up or something. Or we could just agree on a specific phrase you'd like me to use when the ad is about to start so you don't miss it again.
Nah, we'll come up with something. There's got to be a way. Ad break ends in 10 seconds. All right, stream is back. So, back to the content warning. Graphic depictions of death, violence, torture, and murder. Horror content, psychological horror, body horror, gore, ghost, blood, corpses, jump scares, disturbing sounds and images. Bigoted language, racist remarks and slurs, including but not limited to the N-word, Negro, gollywog, potato muncher, bog jumper, etc. Offensive language, including but not limited to fuck, shit, asshole, motherfucker. Psychological trauma, depression, anxiety, PTSD. Sexual content, discussions of sex, sexual intercourse, nudity, sexist remarks, homophobic remarks, physical abuse, sexual assault, rape, suicide, assisted suicide, incest, infant and child death, cannibalism, animal death and cruelty, and, of course, alcoholism. When I was in high school, we called that Saturday night. So, we're back at the game. We are apparently talking to Ash.
My schedule's flexible, Ash. Last time I checked, you're the one who didn't have that luxury. How on earth do you think I'm able to tag along when you need me?
It's not completely out of the way.
They live on the other side of the town from you, Ash. Your definition of out of the way is a little screwed up, you know.
It's fine. I have some things I need to do anyway. I'll call you back. I've got to let Becca know that Scared Cat's fine. Bye.
He drops the call before I can even get a word in. For several minutes after, I find myself simply listening as the rest of Luxborn rouses. The increasing sound of passing traffic, the bustle of the nearby shops preparing for the day, and the glowing clamor of the people while they go about their morning. Oops, forgot something. I want to be able to see all the monitor stuff. Alright. Not the most soothing sounds to hear following a troubled night, but the routine puts me at ease nevertheless. What's comforting, what's safe, what I'm used to. Nearby, Isabella shifts but doesn't wake, blissfully unaware as the city slowly stirs itself back to life. Was her night as restless as the one I had? Were her dreams as lucid? In hushed moments like this, I envy her. Unreasonable, probably a little unfair to say such in light of last night. My glasses need a cleaning. Okay. If only forgetting is as easy as breathing. A small yawn escapes me when I rise from the couch to stretch. Luckily, the short conversation with Ash has effectively driven away any will to go back to bed. I still have a day to get through despite the proverbial ghosts hanging around. The orange bottle sitting at the edge of my table is reassuring against my palm. The instant I pick it up, the sterile odor of the capsules equally so. The weight they carry is something I've never gotten used to. Years ago, I'd spend minutes, heck even hours, staring at a single pill prior to taking one in. Now it's just routine. A way to stave off the unwanted nightly visits. Although I don't think Dr. Navarro will be quite pleased if he ever finds out I'm relying on them again. I do owe him a visit regardless, especially after missing our appointments on purpose and ignoring his calls for weeks. Another sigh comes out, tired and weary. Then I pop the tablet into my mouth.
Zach? What time is it?
Oh, hey, Pumpkin. The bottle on my hand hits the table with more force than necessary. As much as I trust my friends, there are some things I'd rather keep to myself.
Morning, Bella. Did you sleep well?
She answers the question with a long, drawn-out yawn, one reminiscent of a child. A chuckle manages to come out of my mouth at the sight. In this manner, it's easy to mistake her for someone too young for responsibilities. inexperienced and immature even. Easy to forget she was thrust into the role of an adult earlier than her own dreams can afford, to overlook how surprisingly observant she can be at times. Maybe not on the same level Ash exercises for his investigations, or Rebecca needs for her own work, but it's certainly enough to deftly put what she sees around her on canvas. If the way her eyes flicker to the table in my hand says something, it is that I won't be able to avoid the questions this time.
Only a little. I don't remember how I ended up on the bed, though.
My doing. You didn't look very comfortable sleeping on the couch, all hunched up like that.
It would have been enough for something temporary. Sorry I stole your bed.
Hey, it doesn't matter. Besides, what kind of gentleman would I be if I leave a lady sleeping in such uncomfortable conditions?
Damn straight.
Not in this house. My nana would give me a tough scolding if I ever did that, I'm telling you.
Thanks a lot, Zach. I know I barged in at a very inconvenient time last night. I wasn't really thinking when I did, and...
Hey, it's cool, Bella. I ain't mad at you. That's what friends do. You guys are welcome here anytime.
Damn straight.
Although Ashton abuses the anytime part a lot, I don't really mind. We might have less wiggle room if all four of us are present, considering the size of this place. But as long as no one makes anything explode, it's totally fine.
So which two of you would be on the couch and which two in the bed?
Fine or not, I still owe you one for last night's trouble, especially since you don't seem to be...
A concerned expression passes over her features as she spares another cursory glance over the table, back to the bottle holding every small piece of what keeps the bad memories at bay. Blood blooming over Pa's heart, the horrified look on Ma's face as she watches him fall lifeless to the ground, and every ounce of spite seeping from the stranger's smile. You don't belong here. You monkeys don't belong here. It never stops, does it?
Well, you don't seem to be feeling well. Let me know, okay? I'll make it up to you somehow.
She makes a slight gesture with her head towards the bottle, asking a question without really asking. Subtlety has never been one of her greatest assets, but right now, even Ash would have been a little amazed, if not at a loss for words at that. She has left it up to me whether I'll ever give her the response she wants to hear or not. Tell the truth! But it's never easy, ain't it? Talking about my own problems, that is. It never will be, not by a long shot. Not when I've let it stay this way for so long. This is a little loud. Let me turn my speakers down. I realized that long ago when the wounds were still fresh and the dreams are a nightly occurrence. Can't force yourself to get better or move on to better things. It's what's normal now, and I can only cope. The question in her eyes may be unwarranted, born simply out of curiosity and sincere concern for a friend. I don't owe her an explanation, in fact. But of all the people I keep close in my life, she's probably one of the very few who perhaps I can trust with this. Maybe she won't understand entirely. I can never hope she will. No, never to the full extent. That alone is expecting too much of her, giving too much of what I can. However, for all her shortcomings, I know she'll hear me out. And that is all I can ask of her.
My bad. I was kind of hoping you wouldn't have seen me with these.
The pills rattle lightly against the container when I gently set it back to its usual place. Always the small area closest to my laptop, right near the right hand. Within reach whenever, and a quiet reminder of what I shouldn't miss every day.
What? Oh, is it bad? I was just thinking that maybe it's a cold like Becca's. Do you need me to get anything from the store? Soup or something? There's one nearby, right? I can run real quick and...
No, nothing of that sort. I'm perfectly healthy right now. It's really difficult to say.
Perfectly healthy, huh?
Can you promise me you'll listen at least?
What is this about, Zach?
Promise! Promise, you dumb wit!
I should have been upfront with you about this a long time ago. Well, Ashton found out without me telling him anything. But you already know how that guy is. Can't hide anything from him.
If it's something you're having trouble saying, you don't have to force yourself to tell me. I'll forget I ever saw anything and won't ask questions. Promise.
No, I need to get this off my chest eventually. Besides, we're already here. Might as well finish what I started, yeah?
If you say so.
She takes a seat on the couch, her posture easy and open, and her smile honest. As if this is just a simple talk between two friends on a regular day. It is far from one, but her unreserved air is enough to stamp down the twinge of unease that threatens to come up.
Let's hear it then.
And she does. Feels like yesterday, share a painful memory to a friend. True to her words, she listens while the story spills out of my mouth, of my ma and pa, that little old diner across the pond, and what it left in me that day. I can't recall most of it now, my own account jagged with a few missing details here and there. The passing years have eroded most of my recollection of the whole incident. All except for that one moment in the kitchen. The ringing of gunshots are as vivid as it sounded that day. Even Ma's hysterical screams the moment Pa's body hits the floor motionless, his lifeblood flowing out from under him. And the gunman. He was smiling. He was smiling when Pa opened the door to welcome him. He was smiling when he put a bullet to Pa's chest and Ma's head. I've heard stories of how the world can be a cruel place for people like us before. I never believed until that moment.
Nan and Gran took us right after that. Sis and I flew straight to New Jersey as soon as they heard the news. A few days after, Ma and Pa were laid to rest. And we have a new home a continent away. I didn't even get the chance to take my favorite pillow with me. They said something about the change of environment will be good for us. They had no idea the different kind of ghosts would follow me here.
I expected questions, mostly those brimming with childlike curiosity and maybe some that are a little too hard to answer. But to her credit, she just sat there, lent her ears, and looked at me with no expectations or unnecessary judgment in her eyes. She appears wiser and older like this, easier to see the breadwinner in her. Our younger siblings are truly lucky to have her. When I'm done, after everything's been said, she wraps her arms around me. Bit awkward considering the gap in our heights, but it gets her sentiment across. But it's difficult to answer this in kind, if I'm even supposed to reciprocate the gesture given my earlier apprehension. She pulls away shortly with a smile on her face. Not the reaction I braced myself for, but it is obviously better than what I imagined.
Are you not gonna say anything?
Am I supposed to say anything after? Like, apologize or something? I don't think that's very appropriate, but if you want to hear one, I can think of something real quick.
Not really. Other people have something to say after usually. And they're not necessarily nice either.
Who would say something mean after that story? Who the fuck? Whoever it is needs to get the dog shit beat out of him.
Oh, okay then. I won't. I can't think of something anyway. Sorry, I'm not very good with this. Who else knows, by the way?
My older sister, grandparents, and just Ash and you for now. Maybe I think I should tell Rebecca too, but...
But not right now?
Yeah, not right now. When I'm ready. Like today.
I'm sure she'll be willing to hear you out once you do.
I don't doubt she will. I'm more afraid of how she'll react after. One step at a time, yeah? Whew! Surprisingly, it feels good to get that one out my chest. I was a little afraid you'd be angrier. I didn't tell you earlier than today.
Why would anybody be angry about that?
I'm not angry. I'm just surprised. You didn't look like it. I wouldn't have suspected. I suppose that's how it often is, isn't it? We all have our... what's the word Becca uses? Inner demons?
You've got some outer demons, though.
But this is something personal to you. I understand why you'd rather have a few people know.
That too. Well, these past few weeks haven't been easy for you. I didn't want to add that. Not after last night.
Something passes in her face, brief, fleeting, and disappears right before I can recognize what it is.
You okay?
Yep, no worries. I'll be fine.
Okay, that seems like a very Japanese sort of reaction. That's definitely not a British or an American reaction. Well, maybe a British reaction.
Look, about last night. Never mind. This isn't a good time.
This is the only time. You gotta say something.
But don't lose sleep over this, alright? What's important is you got what you want to say out. And if you need me, I'll be here.
I should be relieved. Her words are more than reassuring to my ears. There should be comfort in hearing those alone, and knowing I have another person to rely on if things ever go bad. But somehow, I find myself worrying more for her instead. Well, yeah! She's got a fucking ghost trying to kill her. I'll make another attempt to get the story out of her if I can. But this is a dance I know all too well, and with her, I doubt forcing her to say something would yield any results. As much as I want to imitate Ash, there's only so much I can ask that won't result in something a little over disastrous. At best, she'll stop talking to me until a week passes. At worst, I'd rather not risk it. I've never seen her angry. Outright annoyed, maybe and often directed at Ash, but never furious. What do they say again about happiest people when they're angered? Besides, it'd be unfair to her after our little chat.
So, food then?
That's stupid. That's stupid, stupid, stupid. And she's stupid for not telling you about it. There's actual, factual danger happening, and everybody involved should know everything there is about it. Jesus Christ. She seems relieved at the brisk change of subject, and as if it's been simply waiting for its cue all this time, her stomach rumbles at the mention of food. Rather loudly, as a matter of fact.
Alrighty, Missy. We're going to get some chow now. Better be quick, though. Can't have your stomach starting a revolution on us here.
Don't make fun of me. I'm not that hungry. Maybe a little. I didn't think I'd end up skipping dinner last night.
And now we have one starved stomach protesting. Sorry, it'll be nothing fancy, since I'm a little low on stocks. I should probably drop by the grocery store after the meeting this afternoon.
I can make a quick run for you if you want.
Nah, I've got enough to put together something nice here. Maybe. I could always improvise if we're missing an ingredient or two. It ain't like we're going for a Michelin 3-star status here. Also, didn't I say you're a guest? Is this a Filipino thing? Or just Rebecca rubbing off on you?
The soft laughter that comes from her doesn't quite reach her eyes. Neither. The answer is neither. Because if she stays idle, she'll remember.
On second thought, I might need a little help slicing up the potatoes while I prep the ham. You up for that?
What? Do you think instant noodles are all I'm about?
Yeah, kinda.
I'll have you know I can cook a mean paella with my eyes closed. All my siblings love it.
Paella?
Sure you can. Come on. I think I know what we'll do with those spare ingredients.
Spare ingredients? Despite the massive effort to keep the mood light with small cheddar, cooking ends up being a mostly quiet affair. Between us, the consistent clapping of the knife against the board, and the muffled noise from the television I left running, words have become surprisingly difficult to string together. Not entirely unusual. We've had moments like this before, but definitely unnerving with how things are now. I really wish someone else would come knocking at the door. As pleasant as this is, breaking the ice or keeping a conversation going has never been my forte. That has always been Isabella's or Rebecca's department. Sometimes Ash's, although most coming from him border on awkward or embarrassing. Speaking of the guy, he never did call back, and I'm willing to bet my entire yearly salary that he fell right back to sleep after that call.
Sorry, Bella. Could you...
It's the ghost.
Yep, I got it. The potatoes are almost ready, by the way. I turned down the heat just in case. You might want to check on them, though. Hold on, I'll be right there. Sheesh, wait up. If you keep rapping at the door like that, you'll break it down. Ash.
Oh, good. You're awake.
Ash has already welcomed himself in when I take my eyes away from the oven. He's never been really keen with the notion of courtesies after he's warmed up to you, this guy. All 13 of my locks he broke can attest to that. Really? You fucking kicked his door? What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck kind of coat is that? You look like a fucking club goer. Did you just come from a rave? Detective? Maybe a tad bit standoffish at first, but he's trustworthy.
Don't you have work today?
How do you know he's not doing his work today? After all, you are an acquaintance, a co-worker of a murder victim.
I could ask the same of you. Hey, Izzy, man.
God, dude, he said how many times not to call him that?
You're late. Something came up? You need to drop the Z-Man. It's getting old.
Sorry, I got caught up with something at the precinct on the way here. Had to attend to that first before things got out of hand.
Uh-huh.
I'd tell you about it, but you know how it can be with those kinds of things. Later, maybe.
And you're here because...
What? I'm not allowed to say hello?
I doubt you're here because of that. And you're not answering my question.
No, he's not.
Ah, my bad. Forgot to mention that. He called earlier looking for you. Rebecca's worried because you didn't come home last night.
You could have called my cell instead.
You weren't picking up. Anyway, I'd really hate to cut this little get-together short, but I need to be somewhere else.
So you just showed up to be a dick or what?
Come on, Isabella, let's get you home. I'll drop you off on the way.
What about breakfast?
Wait, we're going now?
He lightly claps a hand on her arm and begins ushering her out of the apartment, throwing a casual wave at me as they pass. Isabella, on the other hand, doesn't appear too fond of the idea. And sure enough, before they can even cross the threshold, she puts a firm foot down, the force alone enough to halt them both and catch the taller man off guard. It would have made for a funny picture. The way Ash almost crashes into her and Isabella giving him an indignant pout over her shoulder. Surprising confusion on his face all at once. Two things that rarely ever grace it if he can help it. A rare moment even for our small group. If only I have my camera with me. Dang.
What is it?
Zach cooked something.
If it's just food, I'll get you something on the way back.
Dude, it's about his effort. Why are you such a dick?
But the food! It's Zach's cooking. Real delicious food that actually tastes like food. At least stay and have a bite, please. Zach, help me here.
These two, whenever they're in the same room, sometimes it feels like herding a group of unruly kids instead of talking to two mature adults. One moment they're engaged in a pleasant chit-chat, and the next they're bickering over a minor issue. Frankly, if I didn't know any better, and I have an overactive imagination, I'd say there's something going on. Fine. Never mind how utterly impossible that idea is. Or it might just be me getting too much into things, like always. I can already hear Ash's laughter if I so much as suggest such. I am really trying not to be a dick about this language since it was written by, since it basically was translated from probably Japanese. But holy shit, this is some awkward language. I cooked up a feast. You goddamn right.
I don't know about you two, but I think you guys should really stay. I've already made enough food for all of us, and it'd be a waste. Why, I cooked up that special honey glazed ham you two keep on yapping about. Got some scalloped potatoes with onions and cheddar to go with it, too.
The oven timer dings. I shoot the two of them an apologetic look before sauntering over the kitchen, mittens in hand. The sweet smell of the glaze and salty tang of melted cheese wafts through the air as soon as I open the door and take out the 2 trays inside. Salty cheese? Monica, have you ever heard of salty cheese? The scent immediately fills the entire room, and even with the door and windows open, the mouth-watering aroma lingers. It's appealing enough that when I put the dishes down on the counter, another starved stomach protests loudly, followed by a burst of laughter.
Huh? Salty cheese? I'm sure there's such a thing, but what does that have to do with anything? Maybe it has some significance for you, though. After all, I know how much you love your cheesy jokes.
Oh God, Monica. My head snaps up at the 2 of them, and I can't keep back the smile at the sight they make. Isabella's clinging to the doorframe for support, doubled over with breathless laughter. Ash is the more composed of the 2, trying to look unconcerned, but a flush has crept up his neck and cheeks. It's clear whose stomach that came from, and Isabella's not going to let him live this down.
You're in no place to reject an offer of free food, Frey.
Frey? I would have called that Fry.
I wasn't rejecting anything. Damn it, I just missed a meal, that's all.
Is this really how people in Japan talk to each other?
Aw,
I mean, I'm
he's
just assuming
flustered.
Japan.
Shut it! Those guys at the precinct said it was urgent. Somebody has to be responsible for it.
Well, aren't you precious?
Right. You know, if you keep laughing like that, you'll burst.
I'm sure it won't be as bad as your stomach suddenly rumbling like a starved.
Aye, kiddos, play nice. Food's gonna get cold if we keep this up. Ash, you gonna stay?
Might as well, since Scaredy Cat's so hell-bent on staying.
You're an asshole. You're like a major, major asshole. A hearty meal. We eventually settle down after the food's been served, the jibes replaced by another round of friendly chatter, mostly about what's on the news the night before. There is, however, a conscious effort to avoid mentioning what's currently on the headlines. The dead is never a good topic to talk over food in polite company. This case in particular. The wounds are too fresh, too soon. I'd likely avoid it as well if I were in her position, and someone I personally knew passed away in a gruesome manner like that. Though perhaps the closest we got to broaching the topic is when the infamous mansion is brought up again. But even then, we are careful, Ash and I. Keep the conversation light to avoid bringing up her late business partner. It's the least we could do.
The Wrights? Yeah, they're planning to move in soon. In fact, they already have a housewarming party planned. It's why they wanted us to rush the papers. They wanted to send the invitations out as soon as possible.
Oh, now I get it.
Get what?
Remember what I told you last night about the new clients?
Vaguely? Sorry, I was a little out of it yesterday. Was it the photo shoot?
Yep, it's actually for the one you sold. Something.
Armageddon.
When you put it that way, I suppose it makes sense why my boss wants me to prioritize the couple. They can have those documents rushed at just a snap of their fingers. Then they're more influential than I initially thought.
Really?
And I guess my boss is expecting a lot more from this project than I expected.
Excuse
Hope I
me.
can live up to it.
Your photographs are more than good enough, Zach. You'd probably win an international award if you let yourself. Ma'am Hana's easy to please, too. As long as you're good at following instructions.
Easier said than done. Different clients have different tastes after all.
Still, a week? I don't think that's possible.
Now that you mentioned it, yeah. They wanted everything finished at the earliest. To be honest, it's not unheard of, but
But it's still weird.
Why wouldn't you say fishy?
Still weird, yeah?
Why did you stay away from the word fishy? A slip of the tongue. Still barely noticeable to someone who's familiar with Ash's ways, yet in this moment, it's impossible to miss. I don't even know the motherfucker and I fucking saw it. I shoot him a curious glance, but he ignores it. Rather pointedly.
I can't exactly say it's like that. where I'm just the middleman after all. As much as I want to comment on
neck is
it, I only
killing
know
me.
what's on the surface, not the in and outs. It's just that BRC and my boss are more hands-on with the legal stuff this time, despite having a separate department dedicated to it.
Excuse me, goddamn.
Maybe Mr. Wright helped with it too. They have their own legal team for this, don't they?
Well, they should have one. Especially for a big property like this.
They have, but like I said, it's off our hands. Rose and I don't handle this stuff in the office. If anything, to me, this just means I'll be able to send the rest of the funds to Papa's treatment earlier.
I guess that makes a whole lot of sense. Officially off our instant noodle diet, aren't we?
Ash, has anyone ever told you that you have an uncanny way of ruining the mood?
What? I was just saying. A few more months of stuffing your face with those, and I'm sure you'll start to look like a noodle cup.
This guy's a friend?
That's a pretty picture.
At least I don't live off convenience store food. Or make poor, unassuming pressure cookers explode.
That's what relief valves are for.
What? How did you... Oh, come on, Zach.
Come on, Zach. What, did the game freeze?
Sorry, it just came up while we were cooking earlier.
Well, he's an asshole. He deserves to get made fun of sometimes. I mean, really. Oh, my fucking keyboard stopped working? God damn it. I guess the battery died. Stand by while I take care of technical difficulties. Alright, we'll just have to keep an eye on the phone because I can either charge the keyboard or the phone.
I'm impressed, Ashton Frey. You even made it to the news.
A one-time thing.
Oh, sure. Let's all pretend that one time you almost set my apartment on fire didn't happen too.
Hey, that was an accident.
You were making a salad, Ash.
Okay.
Can we please move on to a different topic?
It helps. The casual talk, the harmless teasing, the mundane stories interesting enough to let time pass unnoticed. By the time lunch ends, the shadows are no longer at the forefront of my mind. It's the same for Isabella. For whatever troubles her, I can never tell. These things, the anxiety, the fear, they ain't easily seen, ain't easily forgotten after all.
You go on ahead. I've got a few things I need to ask Zach.
I thought you were going to walk her home because she's in danger. Jesus Christ, this game is inconsistent. Fuck me.
I'll be downstairs in a minute.
Confusedly briefly flashes in her eyes as she catches the keys he tosses over, but he doesn't give her an answer and waits for her to go ahead. Yeah, I'm confused too.
How sure are you I won't be driving away with your Shirley?
You don't even have a license. Do you even know how to?
Papa taught me how. I'm probably a better driver than you.
Probably. He's pretty much bad at everything.
See you later, Zach. Thanks for the food.
Always has to have the last word, don't you?
You're welcome. I'll send you the recipe for the potatoes tonight.
A grin is back on her face when she leaves and closes the door behind her. For a little while after we're left alone, Ash goes wholly quiet, listening, waiting for her remaining footsteps in the hall to fade. The earlier amusement is gone from his face, replaced by what I can only describe as trepidation. I know that look all too well. When he's like this, he's expecting shit about to go down at some point soon.
That wasn't very nice, Ash. What was that with Isabella earlier? You're usually subtler with your questions.
They hired you.
Hired me who? Don't change the subject yet. What's really going on here?
The Wrights. Luke and Hannah Wright. You said your next gig is with them.
Is that what this is all about?
Just be careful around them. You have no idea what you're dealing with when it comes to that couple.
Really?
I'd rather you stay as far away from them as possible, but you're already here. Isabella's their real estate agent. Seriously, of all the people in Luxburn.
Okay. I guess I'll just have to take your word for it.
Yeah, maybe you should tell us something. He nods, claps a comforting hand on my back, and turns to leave without another word. He's never been good with those. What? Never been good with hands, backs, words, claps, nods? What has he never been good with? More often he fumbles with what he wants to say, but his actions alone are enough to tell me how grateful he is for the trust. So you stayed after just to go, be careful, they're bad people, and then you left. Jesus Christ. He reaches for the knob as soon as he gets to the door, but doesn't turn it. Instead, he looks back and gestures with his head towards the table. I don't need to follow his line of sight to know what he's about to ask. He's likely taken notice of it the moment he entered the room.
You back on those? I haven't seen you taking them in a year.
Yeah, I kinda had to. It got worse after the film fest. The dreams, that is. I don't think I'll be doing that again anytime soon.
Heard about that. Don't drop it, though. You don't want Becca scolding you. She actually enjoyed the movie you made, and she's hard to please. Consider that a small victory.
You don't have to tell me. She already did. Rebecca and Bella both gave me an earful after I said the opposite. Promised them I wouldn't, but you can never tell. Hopefully, once I feel better, I'll be able to think about it properly.
Oh, look, it's so
Speaking
stilted.
of Bella, she didn't open up to me, but maybe with you and Rebecca.
Yeah, I'll try. I can't promise anything, but I'll talk to her.
Thanks. That's all I'm asking.
This time when he reaches for the door, he lets it close fully behind him without glancing back. A mild draft sweeps into the room as I close the door behind him, slightly disturbing the papers on the nearby fridge. A lone note flutters by my feet, the letters on the surface glaring at me with mute intensity. Ermagerd. H. Wright, 11 a.m. After Ashton's warnings, they all hold a different meaning now. Really? They do? The next 2 days rush by in a blur, altogether leaving a collective mess of work suddenly piling up and new unexpected acquaintances. Or friends? Depends on how you look at it, really. Either way, I'm stuck developing these photos at 3 in the morning to reach a deadline set by an overeager art director. Don't get me wrong, Julius is good. He has vision and knows what he wants, but damn, he can be too enthusiastic sometimes.
Doesn't matter when you couldn't sleep anyway.
This is nothing new in it, of course. After years of working as a freelance photographer, it's simply something I've grown used to. Get to know people, build a client base, do good work, and cash in some late hours if need be. Rinse and repeat. It certainly takes a while to get some footing on the field, but it's the kind of thing that pays off in the long run as long as you keep at it. Given enough time, you might end up with big names on your client list. Names like the Wrights in particular. I never did pay much attention to them, but it's virtually impossible not to hear about them when a local news channel or paper has something to say on their name. A party here, an acquisition there. Sometimes it's a new business venture, other times it's the everyday gossip that typically follows popular people like them. Not in a million years did I ever imagine I would end up working for such a high-profile couple. And between that and the fuss that comes with it, it leaves me no time to ponder over whatever happened to Isabella or why Ash is so adamant we keep away from the pair.
They do seem like the good folk, though, despite the whole fame thing.
You think so? I mean, she tried to seduce you. Sure, there was a rumor running around years ago about him being involved in some business scandal. But just like every gossip blown out of proportion by the media, nothing came of it. And eventually, it simply died down. Much is definitely left to be said for the husband, but I doubt a woman like Miss Wright would pick him if he didn't have any good points at all. Miss Wright? Hannah herself, though? She ain't particularly bad the way the press makes her out to be. Bit too forward for a married woman, maybe, but not as bad as what's on the tabloids. Not that I ever read those. Ashton would give me flack for just staring at one. Rubbish, she called them once. I think he's just pissed because they often put the local police in a bad light. Although, with a life as public as the Wrights, no wonder it's the woman who often gets the crappy end of the stick. I can't help but feel sorry for her. She's a real nice person when given the chance. Heck, she might even have ended up friends with Rebecca and Isabella, too, if they weren't living worlds apart. Probably. The beep quickly pulls me back before my thoughts travel any further. In one practiced motion, I carefully place the wet print I'm holding on the drying rack and amble over my makeshift darkroom to get the last photos from the water bath. Inside the converted broom closet, the film processor lets out another soft clack before going on its standby mode. At its mouth, a lone photograph sits on the tray, barely visible with the lack of light. It's going to be the woman, right? It's going to be the ghosty woman? The last one tonight for the set Ms. Wright requested. I don't usually make this a habit, giving away stuff, that is. It's bad for the business, no matter how well-intentioned and generous you are. This exception, however, she was nice enough to ask after all. It was a good companion up until the awkward turn our little chit-chat taken. Even if she didn't ask, I would have probably given her a few prints just for the hell of it. Miss Wright ain't such a bad subject matter to begin with. Maybe this is just me, but for someone who has everything at the palm of her hands, all the money in the world, a loving husband, and a plenty big mansion to call home, she's lonely. She doesn't just appear like it. It shows in the tone of her voice, how she moves, and most certainly in her smiles. Always hidden behind the glamour for the world to never see. Sometimes for people like her, small things like these helped. A little reminder that the world can be kind, too. Water drips from the paper as I blindly pick it up and lay it in another tray, holding a decent amount of photo flow. Photo flow? A few seconds under the solution is all it needs before it's ready for drying. No good rushing this last one, even if my body's already screaming for a decent snooze. My hand fumbles for the light switch, moving toward it with familiarity while I fish for a squeegee among the massive tools on a drawer with the other. The bulb flickers twice before its glow settles and casts soft light on the tiny space. When I glance back down, squeegee in hand, ready to finish the process and finally call it a night, jump scare!
What on earth?
Her head is gone. That looks like a photo artifact. Blurred and distorted beyond recognition, rather. The area completely smudged over, leaving no trace of the same sweet smile the good woman carried in all the previous prints.
Damn, that was too careless.
A common mistake to make, of course, if one is negligent enough to pick a newly processed photo in the dark like I apparently did. It has happened before, loads of times actually. But I still can't help feel a small pang of frustration over one mistake a newbie would likely make. With a sigh, I reach up for the switch again, intending to develop a new one from scratch.
It could pass off for one of those supernatural pictures they show on TV, though.
I think it looks like that because the dead lady was wrapping around her neck, maybe? The memory clicks. One cursory thought in the sea of many, and a short yet distinct second from the day before. A glimpse is all I got, but it's enough to burn the image in my mind. There was a shadow. No. A woman. In her 20s or early 30s, maybe? But with how far gone her flesh alone has become, it's not possible to tell at first glance. The skin itself has already taken a sickly pale color, rotten in most parts, blood dripping from every open gash and lesion on her body. Bony hands gripping his Wright's neck like a noose, staining the skin underneath with a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes.
Zachary?
Not for me, but for Ms. Wright.
Zach, is something the matter?
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong. I just remembered something that's all. Let's get back to the pictures. Can you move a bit more to the left, yeah?
The memory alone is enough to make me retch. I brushed it off then. A trick of the eye, I told myself, or a product of the heat. The weather has been unexpectedly warm recently, so it shouldn't be too surprising for such things to happen. And, well, blaming this on the usual, fatigue, an overweight brain, the weather, or an amateur error on my part, is far more convenient. It makes a whole lot of sense than what the small voice inside my head whispers. Makes a lot more sense than what the small voice in my head whispers. The same tiny voice that only makes itself known when something's afoul. The same one that lent a curious ear to Isabella's worries about the mansion. And with each second I spent staring at this photograph, the murmurs in my head only grow louder against my ears. Show the photo to Ash. Ash will give me flack for this. He will. I can already hear what he's going to say about this the moment I bring it up. Hell, before he even sees anything, I'll wager. The guy's a skeptic through and through, and it'll take more than my account for him to even consider this. But when you've been there, seen something enough to raise the hairs in the back of your neck and leave you wanting to flee or hide, what he thinks is the least of my concerns. I am no hero. That's a title best reserved for someone else. Still, if this will help him change his mind, it's worth a try. Isabella's gone and done the same thing, didn't she? Outside, the sun has yet to rise. I've still got a few hours before dawn. Good enough time to mull over how I'll go about this with him. Plenty of space to check if I'll get the same result if I redo the process again. The film processor hums back to life at my touch. The light switch gives out a soft click, and darkness embraces the small closet again.
Somehow those urban legends don't sound so silly now.
No, they don't. But how much evidence do you fucking need, man? Sometimes I wish Ash would make himself easier to find. 24 messages, 13 phone calls, and 1 visit to his flat later. I still have no idea which rock in Luxburn he went off to hide under again. The guy has his own place, but refuses to stay in it. Has his own phone, but doesn't answer any of his calls or give any indication he's gotten my messages. Most of the time, he'll just show up on my front door. Sometimes in the middle of the night, complaining about how uncomfortable it is to sleep at the back of his Shirley, his car. As if the old couch in my flat is any better. Nothing new from him, though. But a bit frustrating, really. There's the police precinct, of course. Then again, he's not there most of the time either. That's also true for today. He's likely out on another stakeout. There's nothing much for me to do but wait and see if that's the case.
Let's just hope I'm lucky enough today.
While Luxborn is a relatively peaceful city boasting a low crime rate, its precinct stays abuzz with activity. As soon as I open the glass front doors, murmurs coming from the people waiting in the lobby welcome me. Officers can occasionally be seen shuffling in and out of the rooms, greeting civilians with a casual smile and a polite nod. Some, though, look a little worse for wear, like their receptionist who looked at me with much disdain the moment I arrived. Thankfully, I won't have to deal with him today. Before I can even step in, Ashton's voice, though low, comes in from the hallway adjacent to the
Not
lobby.
even for just 1 minute?
No. The case was dismissed, remember?
You were the one handling that case.
If you want access to those records, you've got to ask Chief. I was taken off it before shit went to hell. Why do you even bother? Even Professor Clark seems to have given up on that.
Well, Never mind, you won't understand.
You're not my mom.
Right. I know you owe Professor Clark a lot, but the right guy isn't just someone you mess with. They've got the money. Who knows what else gets swept under the rug with them involved?
That takes a special kind of ignorant not to know.
And a smart person to know which boundaries he can't cross. You're a bright guy, you'll figure it out. In any case, I've got to get going. Another missing person case on my hand. Benjamin on the front desk looks like he's about to maul someone after the 4th one yesterday. Murders, people missing, what a time to be alive. Man, I miss the old Luxburn.
You and me both. I'll see you. Gonna go grab some lunch.
He notices me first as soon as he enters the lobby and pauses. No, you just noticed him and he wasn't even in sight yet. Oh. Confusedly briefly crosses his face until I fish out the phone from my pocket and wave it up. Frowning, he pulls his own mobile out, wordlessly fiddling with it for a few seconds before sighing heavily. There ain't any annoyance in him when he glances up, though. Only mild exasperation and what might be a hint of amusement.
Stop taking pointers from Isabella. This is gonna get old soon.
At least use your phone properly.
Properly?
It's an alarm clock, a good note-taking device, a halfway decent camera, and maybe a music player too. If I'm being nice. What else do I need it for?
I don't know, keeping in contact maybe?
He merely shrugs. I know I've struck a chord. He's far from holding a piece of technology in contempt, of course. Ash has always been nothing but practical from the start, and technology is useful. Only, when he gets too focused on one thing, like a case he's handling, he tends to forget there are other things around him. It's just so long-winded and awkward. Blue's jumping around like a fucking jumping bean on a hot plate. I need to figure out what's wrong with his tracking. A little reminder and a nudge in the right direction can get him a long way.
I've got an email on that social media site the girls roped us into joining.
That doesn't make any sense. Also, you've got an account before any of us had one.
For policing purposes? Anyway, why are you here? I thought you have something scheduled today. Or was that yesterday?
That was yesterday. Look, about that, there's something I want you to see.
He stops me with a tap on my shoulder, walks past me straight to the door, and gestures with his head towards the very irked receptionist when I raise an eyebrow and question.
Over lunch. I haven't eaten anything since last night, and Benjamin there doesn't really like loiterers around here.
Fuck Benjamin. Wordlessly, I follow after him, but not after seeing the poor guy behind the table and an apologetic smile. As expected, he takes a seat in the farthest corner of the cafe, a good way from the window, but easily allows a view of who comes and goes. Secluded enough not to be disturbed by the lunch hour rush or be overheard by a curious bystander. If I didn't know this is lunch he invited me to, I would automatically assume I got dragged into another stakeout. After years of knowing him, though, this has simply become one of the many habits I've gotten used to. Food arrives minutes later. A slice of their vegetarian quiche for me. Meanwhile, Ashton has opted for a cup of coffee plus a gracious
You
serving
having cake for lunch?
cake. He shrugs, then proceeds to dig in without even a hint of remorse. Frankly, it's like seeing a child get his Christmas present early.
Don't tell Becca. I'll get an earful.
This game seems to have some good moments, but Jesus Christ, it takes a long time to get there.
It's just for today.
You should listen to her, though. The kind of work you do, you'll need to eat something other than sweets.
Why? Most cops live on caffeine and nicotine.
I don't want to see you drop dead in front of my apartment again.
Again?
I told you, just this once. Have you been hanging out with Becca lately? You're beginning to sound like her.
Nah, just for some recipes. But she has the right to worry, you know? It's like she's taking care of two kids. One bitches on sweets, while the other on cup noodles. At least Bella knows how to cook.
Hey, I can at least boil something. Wait, that's easy, right? I mean, you just put water in and...
No, don't even think about it. You destroyed your own kitchen once by sticking a pressure cooker on it. I think my sister is a whole lot better than you. And this is coming from someone who has no other choice but to eat her cooking for some time.
The non sequiturs are dizzying. To be fair, he genuinely appears offended at the last remark. Hate will be too strong of a word to describe how Sis and him usually interact whenever they're in the same room. Though whatever appropriate word it is, you can say with most certainty that the feeling's mutual for both. Ash thinks she nags too much, while Sis thinks he's a trouble magnet I should stay away from. They're both technically right on their assessments.
How's your sister, by the way? Still bullying white guys?
She's married to one now, or you're the one that started it.
You do realize you're the one who started it.
Yeah, well, your sister tried to poison me with her cooking.
Like you can cook better.
My cooking has never killed people.
Your brand of cooking mostly involves throwing things into a pot and hope it never explodes.
I'm never going to live that one down, am I?
Was in the news. Did you know Nana and Gran called me that night just to check if you're still alive?
And they were genuinely concerned. They've always been. In some unspoken agreement, my grandparents has adopted him into the family. A nice gesture, and I don't think he minds it at all. He'd even ask about them from time to time, check on their well-being. I think part of him misses his own family, the one he'll never get back. And though he won't say it out loud, he appreciates having one thing close to it. Makes him feel less alone. Does everybody in this game have a fucking tragic backstory? Who won't? And yet...
You should drop by sometime. Nana's request. She wants to see whether that skinny boy has somehow gained some muscle.
I'll see what I can do.
Sometimes he neglects the more important things.
Ash?
Some other time, Zach. Things are a bit hectic at the moment.
Even for just a day? Psh, come on, Ash.
You saw how things are at the precinct. Even Benjamin's at his wit's end.
He is quick to avoid my eyes, swiftly turning his attention back on his plate. The food, however, remains uneaten. He's put up a wall again. I can't remember the last time he did that, but watching it happen in front of me is disconcerting. It ain't an excuse, I know that. His job is never as easy as those television shows often imply. Lots of bureaucracy and red tape involved. If he's lucky, they'll find an easy lead, close a case after several months of no sleep and pure hard work. What? No, that's not how that works. But most of the time, it's just one pile of reports after the next, one frustration after another. I just wish he'd stop focusing on it too much and see what he's missing out on for once.
You really can't make time for it?
I can't just leave this case for now. Sorry.
His change in tone is subtle, but his aggravation over the matter hangs completely palpable in the air.
Still no closer?
The opposite, actually. There's been some slip-ups here and there. Careless mistakes, and let's just say I'm waiting for him to make another one.
Waiting for who?
What about you? How are things on your end?
All piled up on top of the other. But I can manage. Still recovering from the expenses for the movie, so the surge in new projects helps. And well, there's this one thing.
The expression on his face grows more puzzled with each photo I spread on the table. There's about 8 of them. About 8? You don't know how many photos there are? All of it reprints of the same thing, Ms. Wright's distorted head on the photos. He takes a minute to go through each, eyeing the prints warily. The furrow on his brow doesn't ease even after he gathers it all into one pile and sets them in one neat stack in front of me with a heavy sigh.
Hannah Wright?
Yeah. How did you...
The locket. She never takes it off. Evan's family heirloom.
I won't even think about asking why or how he knows that. If he's investigating them, he'll likely have already dug up every unimaginable dirt on them, including family history.
Are you done with your work with them?
Yesterday, yeah. It's just a small feature for a magazine. Interviews, photos, standard stuff, nothing big. But see, here's the thing. I don't know how else to put this out there without sounding crazy, but there really is something odd with that place. Remember the letter?
He drags in a breath, reaches up his nose and pinches it. Like the action alone will help him grant him all the patience in the world to continue this conversation.
Please tell me this isn't about that again.
No, Ash, you've got to listen this time.
I am listening, and I can't believe that just came out of your mouth.
Dude, how about give your friend the benefit of the doubt and stop being a douche nozzle?
These are some blurred out photos, and that letter is just a stupid prank. I expected this from Isabella, not you. You're the photographer here. I don't see any need to get worked up over this.
What does him being a photographer have to do with it? God damn, you're an asshole.
I know what you mean, but will you hear me out first?
Ash leans back in his seat and doesn't say anything further. He gestures for me to continue with a wave of his hand, impatience clearly on his face. Any other person telling him this and he'll walk out without batting an eye. I suppose the only reason he's giving me the benefit of the doubt is because we know each other.
Ash, I don't easily buy into these things as much as you do. Yesterday, though, behind Hannah.
He blinks at that, his eyebrow lifting momentarily before setting into a deep frown.
Hana, since when were you on a first name basis with the right missus?
Why does that even matter?
Yeah, why does that even
I
matter?
thought you said this was just a gig.
His voice stays level, but the accusation in it is clear as day. It hits a nerve in me somehow, more than that tone usually does. I do get where he's coming from, but that's not the point here. Of all the things I said, my connection to the rights is the first thing he points out. As much as I want to keep my own annoyance at bay, I can't stop it from seeping into my
That's
voice.
completely beside the point here, Ash.
I warned you, Zach.
I get it, all right? But you can't just expect me to turn it down after I made a commitment to a client. I've got to put food on my table.
I didn't say you shouldn't, but you should not be messing with them.
I wasn't messing with them.
And this isn't?
He waves the photos in front of me before dropping the pile on the table with a loud smack. I don't need to look to know we've already attracted some attention from the lunchtime crowd. Besides, turning away from him feels almost the same as admitting he's right. There are things more important than his damn case right now. I wish he'd see that.
It was a job, and that ain't how these photos were intended to come out. You think I'd go out of my way just to edit something like this? There's something weird going on here.
And you think Luke Wright will see it that way? You think the right missus will find it amusing?
I did not do this for my amusement, Ash. People's lives might be at stake here.
If you understood that in the first place, we wouldn't be having this stupid talk. Luke fucking Wright is a dangerous man, Zach. Keep hanging around them and you'll find yourself burnt to a crisp in your apartment or floating down a river 3 days later. This case is...
Will you stop talking about the damn case for once and just listen to me?
Dude, he's telling you that his case is them. This jerks me out of my immersion. Just when I think I can get past the stilted language and get into the game, some bullshit like this happens. Zach is not a stupid man. Zach would fucking understand what's going on here.
Why do you think Isabella's...
Don't you dare bring her into this! We're talking about you and this stupid...
Oh, of course you don't want to talk about it. Because you're fucking afraid there's some damn truth to what she's saying now that there's two of us.
Oh. Every expression drains from his face as soon as the words are out of my mouth. They've hit their mark. Each utterance scathes, sharp with nothing but anger and the truth. Yet they are also things I won't typically say out loud in good company, and rather ease people into it before letting it fall. What the fuck are you even talking about? Almost immediately a wave of regret washes over me.
Ash, dude, that ain't what I meant to.
You said enough, Zach.
Without another word, he stands, his chair scraping loudly against the floor, all while my brain races to find something to fix this. Ours ain't a fragile friendship by any means. I like to think we've gone past the stage when we find everything the other says insulting. What the fuck stage even is that? But there are times when letters and phrases alone can cut deeper than any blade. Mine might even leave a scar. He doesn't let me, however. Instead, he sets a card in front of me. Professor of Psychology and Ethnography. The name is familiar, but amidst the cloud of remorse swirling inside my head, I can't bring myself to recall where I've
You
seen
shouldn't
it.
be running blind. Call this guy. He'll be less inclined to shout at you. Might even talk some sense into you.
I don't see his face when he leaves, and it is only when the store's bell chimes again do I breathe. Of all the places, it never crosses my mind I'll end up wandering into the public library today, considering I rarely ever visited. Somehow there's always been this kind of disconnect between me and books in general. Sure, some of them held my attention in my youth during the brief times of the day I was left to my... Oh my god, can we just get to the point? I went through the whole of Grant's collection, as a matter of fact. Read all of them thrice or even twice, but they never did hold much for me, even in a stick. Especially after I learned it's simply easier to do things myself and learn... This ain't the plan in the first place. But after that argument, I really don't have any other choice. Nothing but quiet greets me inside, though. Not the typical mum one would associate with a library, but one akin to a hush prior to an impending trouble. Or perhaps I'm just overthinking again. I really like to think I'm just thinking too much about this, that this is just the lack of sleep talking. Regardless, apart from a group of students murmuring in a corner someplace, the place is free of its usual visitors. How would you know if it has usual visitors if you don't ever go in there? All while my footsteps echo in a manner unsettling enough to raise the hairs at the back of my neck. Much to my relief, it does not take me long to find him, being the only occupant in the side of the room. Professor Andrew Clark. I've never personally met the man, but Ash has spoken highly of him several times. In fact, he's Ash's go-to guy when something's troubling him with a case. My steps are unsure as I approach. At any rate, he greets me with a warm smile, like a grandson he hasn't seen in a long time.
Ashton's friend, I take it. Zachary.
How the fuck would you even know that?
You'll have to forgive this old man if I don't get your name right.
Oh, no, you got it. It's Zach. Zachary Steele, Professor Clark.
He gestures at an empty seat across the table while he returns to his books. The next couple of minutes pass in relative silence as he continues to read and take notes from the pile he's accumulated on the table. Well, rude. Maybe I should have taken the book first before heading here? But before I can even get far into that idea, the professor clicks the book shut and sets it atop the stack next to him.
Ashton told me you were hoping to get answers from me.
At my confused look, he lets out a small chuckle.
He sent a message ahead. A friend needs to have some sense knocked into him. In verbatim. That boy never changes.
I wasn't really expecting he'd do that.
Although I'm not quite sure what I could share, I'll do my best to help.
Of course, there are a lot of things I want to ask. How do we get out of this mess in the first among tens, hundreds of concerns in my head? But in the presence of someone I barely know, the thoughts won't easily form. He is nothing but patient, however, and with enough time to mull over, a question finally forms.
Do you believe in the paranormal, Professor?
It's supernatural, actually. Don't worry. It's a common mistake to make, but they really are two different things. The other one deals with what we can't explain at the moment, while the other are things we may not have an explanation to. Here.
He places a couple of papers in front of me, the very same one he was writing on earlier. A study of Luxborn's supernatural culture in a nutshell.
A friend of mine wrote that a few years ago. He took interest in the city after reading about the stories. I have to agree with him here. Even stories dealing with things you don't see with the naked eye can be rife with culture, and this city thrives on it. Just ask the locals.
Like ghosts, for example.
Among other things. The interpretation has changed over the years, though. Various religions, for example, have their own version. It might not always be a spirit now. It could be a memory, or an imprint, an echo, so to speak. Some are born from curses, even, out of great anger, hatred, or pain. There was this one story. Here it is.
Another book is pulled out from the stack and placed open atop the papers. While he speaks with such passion, it makes me wonder if some part of him believes these to be true. It is interesting, though, even if I'm personally not a fan of such stories. And soon, hours pass without my notice. Show it, don't tell it.
In the end, it asked for something to be sacrificed in order to destroy whatever anchors the Wraith. A sad tale, that one, but the simplest grudge can bring the ugliest, even in the kindest person, with some people none the wiser. Oh, I'm sorry, I just went on.
For a couple hours, apparently.
Nah, it's good. Are you familiar with the Ermengarde Mansion, though?
Ermengarde.
Of course, that goes without saying. Who hasn't heard of the local legend? Although, word of the mouth is, someone has already bought it.
Yeah, the right couple. It was a close friend who handled that sale.
So I heard.
How the fuck would you even know that?
Well, don't think the house being bought by anyone would stop us from talking about it. What is it about the mansion, then?
I just want to ask what you think of it, sir.
We're going to need more than an afternoon for that, young man. You see, it's the kind that has changed over the years, passed down from one person to the next. Sometimes it's the Lord William who haunts the place. There are versions where it's the lady of the house. But my favorite, a personal favorite, would have to be the ones that followed after the disappearance of the kind daughter.
Well, what about these then?
There's a moment of hesitation on my part before I pull out Ms. Wright's photos and lay them all out in front of him. Unlike Ash, though, the professor inspects each print with great interest. That gives me some hope, at least.
When were these taken?
Consult with the professor about the photos. Need some advice, Prof.
Just the other day. Do you think those are the same?
Perhaps. Perhaps not. There were certainly instances when the film would pick up what the human eyes weren't able to see. But then, it could also have been human error.
I didn't edit it in any way. You have my word on that, Professor. They all just came out like that.
Then, if it is what you're thinking, I'd strongly advise against doing something reckless and further tangling with them. Accounts about them may be riveting to you, but most of it often ends in an unpleasant manner.
I hate the way they use manner over and over and over. The manner of their usage of manner is mannering my manner.
What about those people in the house? If there is something in there, shouldn't they know? I'm sure they're already familiar with the legends, but...
Some people might deserve it, however.
Well, that's an awfully big leap. You don't even know those fuckers.
Deserve what, sir?
All of a sudden, the tenderness in the professor's eyes disappears, his face becoming unreadable. As though catching himself, he hastily clears his throat, gathers his books, and rises from his seat.
Professor?
I'm sorry. I just remembered something I neglected to do. You'll have to excuse me, Zachary.
All right. Do you need any help with that?
Don't let my looks fool you, son. I can still carry a few hundreds. I've been doing this for years.
A few hundred what? Pounds? Books? Pages?
I'll see you some other time if you have any other questions.
Of course. It was nice knowing you, Professor.
He doesn't hear it, however. Nor does he ever hear it. The voices are gone. And only left you to look in the mirror. A few short strides, he's out of the library, leaving me and every piece of this whole mess amidst the oppressive stillness. Despite the answers gleaned, more questions surfaced. If there is even single way out of this, I hope we find it soon. The moon is well into the night sky by the time I make it back home. My heavy treads, the sound of traffic outside echoing in my ears, filling the empty room with some semblance of life. Nana would scold me if she ever hears me walk like that, but after today, I really can't give a damn about everything. Your Nana has a problem with the way people walk? I am so confused. The mattress creaks under my weight as I unceremoniously flop down on it, and I find myself looking at the paper under my grip. An invitation and a request to cover an event, the Wrights' housewarming party tomorrow evening. If only it were that easy, but it'll give me a chance to talk to her about that thing in their house. With a sigh, I let my hand fall to the side of the bed along with the invitation. I'll think about it tomorrow, when my head ain't muddled with thoughts of Headless Woman and the haunting smiles of a ghost. Belatedly, it occurs to me the last meal I ate had been the one with Ashton, and an empty, gnawing ache makes itself known, but I can't bring myself to stand up. Today was a complete waste of time, and frankly, a disappointment. I don't like this. The lack of certainty, the disquiet, the lack of stable ground to stand on, the part where I do not know what will come tomorrow. Ever since that damn letter, everything has been thrown out of the loop. I wish everything stayed the same. Routine would have been easier to make sense of than this. Closing my eyes, I let the noise from the streets below lull me to sleep. At the very least, there was one thing that hasn't changed. The melody carries into the hall long before I cross the threshold. Solemn but gentle and soothing, a reminder of what home is. Pa's firm but meaningful gaze, Ma's wistful smiles, the warm rays filtering through the eaves at sunset, the distinct smell of wet earth and leaves after a long day's rain, and in our room, the room, Ma and Pa's pride and joy, a place where we were once promised several springs ago. Yet it won't stop.
No, wait! Come back! I'll be good this time! Please don't leave! Please stay!
The floorboards are colder under my feet more than it is usually. The walls more forbidding than what I'm used to. Farther and farther the room goes. Ma's singing ceases. And Pa? I can't hear Pa. Not above the raucous clanging and the deafening roar of gunshots, nor the screams replacing the comforting soft melodies. There is only the blinding fear. But when the light breaks, her skin has already taken a sickly pale color, rotten in most parts, blood dripping from every open gash and lesion on her body. Bony hands grip Hannah's neck like a noose, straining the skin underneath with a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes. A scream ripples through the air. My whole body feels distant. Every limb heavy with lead, all unable to move at will. Not even so I can wipe the beads of sweat forming at my temple. The rasping of my breath easily fills the room in the wee hours, while I force it back into a steady rhythm. There is a tightness in my chest I can't shake off, my heart pounded against as if it's about to burst out. Something cold has settled in my legs. Not the usual chill that comes and goes with the passing breeze from the window, but one strong enough to sting, crackle, and leave a frigid sensation creeping up my skin. With every struggle I make, the pressure winds firmly around my legs. Tighter, and tighter, and tighter. All until it becomes too much. My heart stops. Another draft sweeps into the room, brings with it the iron tang of blood. Thick, suffocating, filling my nose with a foul, sickening smell as I shift my gaze downward, and it slowly comes into view. Mouth stretched in a hideous smile and eyes brimming with nothing but madness. The stench of gore taints the air around me, and I can't look away from it, her, from the terror and death that her uncanny, twisted features alone scream. I try to open my mouth, to shout, to ask for any help, and my voice has left my body altogether. All I have is the painful realization that no kind of plea will ever save me from her. Then suddenly, the bed dips. The brutal plunge back into myself jerks me awake. There is no ear-splitting scream, no wild thrashing of limbs, just a painful, constricting awareness that something has wound itself tightly around my neck. I waste no second pulling it, a blanket away, but allow myself a few minutes to steady my breathing before getting off the bed. Inhale, hold, exhale. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. But the dreams have gotten worse. Ever since 2 days ago, no longer are they the small cursory flashes that I'm used to, but vivid ones that linger. I can still feel the blood in my hands, the putrid smell of rotting flesh, the sickening crunch of bones breaking with every movement, and her cold, chilling eyes as they bore into me. I draw in one long, ragged breath, and before I know it, I'm walking out the door. Even in the waking world, it reeks. A bench in the park is far from the most private place for thoughts in Luxmore, considering its location at the heart of a bustling city. But in the early hours of the morning, it provides enough peace and quiet for any poor problematic soul who happens to wander here. The city is just waking up, a little later than usual. But knowing what day it is, one can't fault it for being a little tardy just this once. Yet neither the pleasant morning chill nor the soft twittering of birds does anything to banish the images. Every single one has rooted itself in my head. Its claws digging deep into what is no longer a safe place to hide in.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. Take a key and lock him up.
It used to be easy
lock him
finding
up,
some pretense of
lock him
peace
up.
under the guise of
Take
sheer
a key
optimism,
and lock him up,
following regular
my
routine.
fair lady.
Now, no, I don't know what to make of it.
Sometimes
it's easier to run, easier to hide when everything's falling apart. That way you don't have to be the first to witness it when it does. It worked when things went bad with the movie, after all. It also worked when Mom and Pa were taken from us. Maybe it really is better if I just...
Hey, mister.
Hello, mister. The tiny voice gives me pause. When I look up, a little girl, maybe about 6 or 7, is peering at me. 2 wide eyes overflowing with what can only be the natural curiosity one typically sees in children. I vaguely note the St. Goretti uniform she's wearing before returning her greeting.
Hey, kid.
Kylie.
Kylie?
That's my name. Mama said it's rude not to call people by their names.
She then flops down on the empty space beside me. Her little legs, too short to reach the ground, swing in tune with a song she hums under her breath. I don't mind kids. Nana would often invite the ones in our old neighborhood to give them treats. Of course, by then, Sis and I were too old to play with them. But you get used to the commotion eventually. It's not completely as unpleasant as most people would imply. Kylie seems to be a well-behaved kid anyway.
Oh, sorry. Nice to meet you, Kylie. Is Mama here?
No, but my big brother's with me. He's taking pictures with his camera over there.
She points to the far end of the park, the one closest to the street where a kid is taking shots of something above him. It doesn't look to be birds because all there is on that side of the park are buildings.
I don't see what's so interesting with the tip of a building, though. I'd take pictures of dogs if I were him. They're cute. Do you have a camera too, mister?
Yeah, I'm actually a photographer.
Mama said I'm too young to get a camera.
I'm sure your mama will eventually give you one. But won't you be late for school like this?
Big brother will get us there on time. Rowan promised Papa. We aren't going to be late. It's sports day. So it's not good if you keep looking like that today. If it ends up raining and we lose, it's your fault.
What?
All right, I'll try not to upset the clouds today, kid.
Is it because you're sick, mister?
Before I know it, a smile is spread on my face. They say kids ask the toughest questions sometimes, and they sure do, with how sincere Kylie looks. Lying feels like doing her a huge disservice.
No, not sick. Just having a very, very bad day.
Why is that? Is that like when my big brother ate all of my pudding? He did that once and then cried. It wasn't very nice of him.
Yeah, I think so. You see, there's this mean girl. She's given my friends and I a lot of trouble. I even got in a fight with my best friend because of her. Hard to keep up when things are like that, you know? Especially when you can't do anything. It's kind of scary. Makes you wish things will just stay as peaceful as they used to be.
Maybe she just wants to be friends with you?
I doubt that.
I highly doubt that. She already hurt one of my friends.
What if she's just sad? Or maybe she just wants help. That's what happened with Melody. I let her borrow my crayon when she left hers. Now we're playmates.
It's not really the same thing, Kylie. What she did, they're pretty bad things.
I still think there's another reason. Did you try talking to her? That's what Mama said I should do.
I don't think that'll work either.
How do you know? Ain't nobody tried to talk to her.
You haven't even tried.
Yeah, Rowan's a dick.
You're just scared, mister.
Stop being a pussy. That strikes a chord. Maybe it's the honesty in her tone or simply the truth in the words itself. Himself. I don't know why, but I can't help it. I laugh. Loud enough to disturb an elderly couple taking a leisurely walk nearby.
Why are you laughing?
That's nothing. You're a really smart kid, you know that?
That's what I've been doing, ain't it? Go full speed ahead, then backtrack when the going gets tough. Stay in my safe zone because that's what I know. Once Dr. Navarro said I should be the first one willing to deal with my problems before anyone else. I didn't show up on our next appointment after that. But he's right. And though I hate to admit it, knowing what I've seen, the kid makes a good point too. I've been so caught up thinking there might not be a way out. Maybe there isn't, or maybe there is, but that doesn't mean I should just leave it up to fate. Aren't spirits supposed to be humans before too? Had people they cared about, lived a life of their own, smiled and laughed like the rest of us does? Do they really lose it all after
You
death?
better get to school, though, or you'll miss sports day. You should have won yourself some awards, alright?
Alright. Can I show it to you when I do? That can cheer people up, right?
What the? How would you even? In the distance, her brother calls for her, and I took that as a sign to leave. Got things to do, to face. The first few steps, they say.
Nah, I'm good now, I think. Thanks to you. Besides, Mister needs to go. But you should show it to Mama and Papa. I'm sure they'll be proud of you, Kylie.
I will. Thanks, mister. Bye.
I give her a little pat on the head before heading my way. A small gesture of thanks from a stranger she didn't know she might have helped. She may not understand it now, even though at such a young age she already has understanding of these things. But maybe when she's older, when the world no longer seems too big for her.
But aren't you going to help me, mister?
With what?
She's fixing to turn into the demon. Confused, I glance back. Whatever cheer our little talk has brought vanished under the shadows suddenly dancing in my eyes. This frigid air most definitely not how the morning chill should feel like. Bitter, stinging, unwelcoming. And the kid?
What do you think, mister? Are you going to help me?
Yes, I'm going to help you, just, I can't do that if you strangle me dead.
What do you want from us?
The response never comes, however, because when I blinked, gone.
Hello? Mister? Are you okay?
Nope, apparently not. For several passing seconds, I let my stare linger on her face, waiting for any sign of another change. But all that remains in there is the carefree smile of a child. None of the spite, none of the cold-blooded smile.
Nothing, huh? I really need to go, Kylie. It was nice meeting you.
See you again, mister!
I break into a run. I don't look back, not even as I bump into a couple of passers-by as soon as I'm out on the busy streets. Going insane. This is what it is. And if we don't do something soon, we all will be. The tremors follow me even as I get home. I had hoped a little stroll around the block for a few hours would help. Instead, I am assaulted with more images of her. Her smile, the loathing in her eyes, the stench of gore, the hard crunch that comes with every movement she makes. Even old memories have been sullied by her, and my song no longer sounds as sweet as it's meant to be. In the end, all I got is a sinking feeling I will never be rid of her image, and another ridiculous idea that may or may not even work. The sun is already hanging low on the horizon when I make it back. Jesus Christ, she stayed out all fucking day? For the first time, coming home feels more like a chore. Only, I didn't arrive to an empty room. Because as soon as I open the door, I am greeted by none other than Ash.
Sup, Z-Man?
I told you we should have called him before going here.
It's fine.
It's Ashton I see first. sitting comfortably on my couch, munching on a bag of chips with both feet propped up on the coffee table. Whatever proverbial stone has made a home at the pit of my stomach automatically flies right out the window at the sight of him. But before any exasperation can set in, my attention is taken by the other occupant in the room. Isabella perches on the only other chair in the room, attempting to make herself smaller, it seems, from how closely she's hugging her arms together. Nevertheless, she gives me a small smile when she notices my stare. Yet, somehow, there ain't any warmth in it like it's supposed to have.
Hey, Zach. Sorry we just barged in here. Ash was...
Relax. Z-Man gave me a copy of the key himself.
Only to keep you from breaking the goddamn locks.
Only after you broke the 13th one. I can't keep replacing them every time you think it'd be a good idea to break into my apartment. And stop calling me Z-Man.
I didn't break anything this time.
Ash, just because I gave you a key doesn't mean you can just stroll in here whenever you want to. And, hey, is that my...
Ash smirks at me because, of course, he still has the gall to smirk knowing what he did. He pops in what is very likely the last piece of chip in his mouth and folds the wrapper neatly on the table before throwing it in the nearby trash. From her chair, Isabella shoots me an apologetic smile as soon as the foil hits her waistband with a dull thump. Common sense dictates that I should be angry. But after everything, despite things we've yet to straighten out before it blows up in our faces, having something normal play out in front of me, no matter how childish their antics can get, I can't bring myself to muster even a tidbit of it. Behind me, the television starts blaring the music for the end credits of a movie. They have likely been watching for a while if Ash has gotten impatient enough to rummage through my cupboards to watch something.
Of course he eats all of it. You know, I was saving that for the weekend. Did you at least share some with Bella?
Don't worry about it. I'm good, Zach.
Really? It's free food, you know? What was that you usually say? You don't say no to free food? What happened?
No, I'm just not hungry.
Ash only shrugs at the question in my eyes. I can't be the only one that finds this vibe she's giving off to be odd, and the guy has no doubt already caught wind of it.
Aye. But if you want something, just say so. I've got a fully restocked pantry right here at your disposal. Still not a 5-star level thing, but for an empty stomach, it'd do. Just say the word.
Word.
Thanks, Zach. Maybe next time. Food is not really what we came here for. Ash, he's the one who...
She casts a brief stare at Ash, and in an instant, he sits up. Every trace of amusement is gone from his face as he clasps his hand in front of him and leans forward. A minuscule gesture meant to ease, yet the grim expression on him tells a different story altogether.
All right, you two, what's this about? I don't like those looks. If this has something to do with the other day, I really am sorry about it. It was rude, and I didn't mean for it to come out that way.
A short but tense pause follows. They're both stalling. Under normal circumstances, I'd wait. With these two, the more you force it, the more they'll clamp down on it. But as a handful of seconds continue to slip by, the unsettling feeling in me also grows with it. Soon it turns into impatience. Before I can demand a response, though, one of them finally speaks up. It's Ashton who first braced it.
No, don't apologize. I should have listened.
How is everything with you lately, Zach?
Other than being strangled by a ghost bitch and having a little girl transmute right in front of my eyes, everything is peachy.
Hold on, Ash. Both of you. Did I just hear you say that? Is this why Isabella's here? Has something happened?
Calm down, we're just here to check on things. So, did you meet Andrew about the photos?
What photographs?
Said photographs had been sitting untouched since the day I dumped them in my drawer. Isabella goes very still when I hand her the small stack. To her credit, she does not flinch like I'm expecting her to, and flips through each of it in silence. But while her eyes remain strangely calm, her hands have gone rigid and her mouth is set into a thin line. She, out of all people, understands what this means. In hindsight, she should have been the one I approached before Ash.
What did Andrew say about them?
It could be one, but there's no guarantee it's a supernatural thing. It doesn't always happen. So, that's a dead end right there. Now that I think about it, bothering that guy for this feels pretty silly now. But with the dreams lately...
God damn, my neck is killing me today.
That's all? Did he say anything about the damn letter at all? Did you ask him even?
I paused, glancing at him skeptically. I don't know where this sudden curiosity is coming from. But if Ashton, calm, cool, collected, always logical Ashton, takes interest in this, something or someone must have fucked up shit somewhere. Or the world is ending. Seconds pass. The apocalypse I'm expecting to go along with doesn't arrive, however.
Yeah, that's really everything. The letter kind of slipped my mind. The photos were more important at that time. There was some stuff about the local horror stories, though. Talked about the curses, and he was really fascinated with the story about a wraith asking for a sacrifice to move on. Kinda nasty if you ask me, but it does make sense if you simply go along with it. I'm not sure how this will help in the grand scheme of things. Why are you asking about this anyway?
Rose's death isn't just a coincidence, Zach. It may have something to do with... I may have...
Wait, stop right there for a sec, Bella. I thought you ain't buying this stuff, Ash. Just the other day, you said the exact same thing.
I still don't, but even Rebecca, out of all people, claims there's something. Whatever this is, someone has got to look into it. Everything about this screams shady.
Slim Shady?
Are you sure you even have the time? Ain't you busy with your current case?
This is the current case.
I got taken off that one.
You didn't say you were taken off your case.
I just got the news this morning. Apparently the higher-ups think I'm doing a horrendous job at it. It doesn't matter though. If these two cases are connected like I initially thought, then regardless, I'm on the right track.
Are you sure we should even be doing this?
Doing what?
Doing what exactly?
There's some place we'll visit after this.
Too vague for comfort, Ash. And please don't tell me you're bringing her with you.
His affirmation comes in the form of a stare, but that alone says all I need to know. What I pointed out gives him a pause, though, and his voice is thick with hesitation when he addresses Isabella.
You know what? Zach's right, Isabella. You don't have to come with me.
It's not myself I'm worried about. It's you. I'll just do this myself, if it'll get you into more trouble with your superiors. At least I can make up an excuse why I need to be there.
Don't be ridiculous. You're not walking in there without me. Besides, I think it's a little too late to back out now. Have you two seen the news this morning?
I haven't, actually.
I thought it was nighttime. I thought that the sun was going down.
Mama called, and I was busy.
The change in the air around her, while small, cannot have gone unnoticed, and it takes every willpower not to ask. Probably the only thing reining in my curiosity is the fact that Ash himself haven't brought it up early either. Hasn't brought it.
No problem.
It's
It should
just
be in the
getting worse
afternoon
and
news as
worse.
well.
He grabs the remote and cycles through numerous channels until he gets to a news report about another guy who has been found dead in the early hours of the morning today. Burned alive this time. Oddly, no fire has spread and whatever damage has been contained within the place the body was found. The room itself, however, has been completely vandalized. Help me. Help me. Help me. Another murder, the authorities claimed. Isabella and I knew better. None of us shifts even after the report ends, but the room has suddenly felt stifling. Ashton's eyes have gone hooded with what appears to be restrained anger, and the remote in his hands creaks mildly under his grip. The stone is back in my stomach. A tiny little thing gripping at my insides, growing with every passing second as the dread sinks in. In the thick of it, Isabella's voice is the one that breaks the hush. A small, weak thing on its own that wavers unevenly between words, but every syllable heavy with meaning.
This is because of that thing, isn't it? I did this somehow.
When it fades, all that's left in the air is her doubt and fear, while all we can do is cope. We can still fix this.
It ain't too late. We could still fix this. There's 3 of us here. 4 if you count Rebecca.
No, she's staying away from this.
She lifts her gaze at me, eyes steady and shoulders squared as she holds it against the baffled look I give her. Although in the next second, it immediately softens and it takes me by surprise nevertheless. In those brief moments, it's like I face a different person.
I don't want to involve her in this any more than I already have. Both of you as well.
I already said it. That's completely out of the question. Stop asking.
Still in all, that's 2 extra heads who can do the thinking. Between us 3, I'm sure we'll figure something out pretty soon.
Don't make this whole thing sound like it's a piece of cake to deal with.
It ain't. But better than sitting around, yeah? Plan is still a plan.
You're going to shoot yourself in the foot one day with that kind of thinking. We don't even know who's doing this. The last 2 murders might just be similar incidents done by 2 different suspects.
You think so? Even though the same words were scrawled in fucking blood across both crime scenes. That's a complete coincidence, right?
Hasn't stopped you from going after them before. Remember that time when you...
Okay, stop right there. There will be no retelling of that incident today, Z-Man.
How do you even know what incident he's about to retell?
Or ever.
Keep calling me Z-Man and maybe I will.
Suddenly, Isabella laughs. Though muffled by her hands, it rings light and easy against the thick tension in the room. Still a far cry from the usual cheer she carries, but brings a welcome shift in the otherwise dreary mood.
Thanks, you two.
I'll tell you about it when he's not around.
Give it up, Z-Man. She's not interested.
Who says I'm not?
Ash makes a face but chuckles at the jest despite himself.
Why am I even friends with you two?
Because who the fuck else would be friends with you? And like this, most of our worries ebb away, if only for a few moments. They take their leave mere minutes close to sundown, but regardless of the light of moon, little has been said of their plans, only vague hints of what they're aiming to do after. While it ain't any of my business to know, something about this whole thing still gnaws at me. A tiny passing thought urges me to do something as well. At this hour, the streets are once again busy with people heading home after a hard day's work. A little of the bustle matters to them as they step out of this crowded walkway, however. Ash especially. There's only his goal in mind, and I'd wager there's nothing I can do to stop him at this point. He's probably decided on it long before they made the decision to drop by. But despite this, Isabella lags behind. A worried crease is back on her forehead as she watches Ash leave to get his car.
Something wrong, Bella?
No, actually, can you take home Becca for me after this? I really didn't get the chance to tell her where I'm headed off to. Tell her I'm okay and we're... No, just that. That's all.
You sure I should skip on that part? If she finds out about this, she'll be angry. I don't really want to deal with angry Rebecca. It gives me a stomachache just thinking about it.
Neither do I, but I'll handle it if she gets mad. Just make sure she's safe and tell her to be careful. You too. Take care of yourself.
Almost abruptly, she pauses, the gaze in her eyes hardening as she lapses into another one of those long, distant silences from earlier. This ain't just because of the whole fiasco with the letter anymore.
I don't want what happened to Rose to happen to you guys as well.
This one cuts deeper. Before I can ask about it, Ashton returns, casually swinging his car keys on one hand and gestures at Isabella.
Come on, we don't have much time. Shirley's waiting.
Who's sure? Oh, right. Don't answer that. I don't want to hear it, you huge dork.
Says the person who gave her stuffed toys names. Batcat? Really?
Why are you such an asshole, man?
It's cute. Yours is just weird. I'll see you later, Zach.
She spares me another smile as I watch her walk off. Only now did it occur to me that none of those that she gave today ever did reach her eyes. I make a grab for the back of Ash's parka. He staggers briefly before correcting himself and shooting me a confused stare.
Is she alright?
What? Who's okay?
Isabella. She's
Who
been,
the fuck do you
I
think?
don't know,
The Queen of fucking
out of
Sheba?
it today? Did something happen earlier?
I mean, other than all the people dying? The scowl on his face says it all.
She's actually been like that this morning. I'll ask, but
Just do me a favor and watch over her. We have no idea what we're dealing with.
We kinda have an idea what we're dealing with. I mean, kinda.
I don't know what happened to her since the last time I saw her, but from how she's been doing today, whatever it is, seems like a pretty big deal. Wait, you didn't annoy her again, did you? Because I swear to God, if you did, you've got another thing coming for you.
what? No. Why would I?
I'm just asking. I'll take your word for it. But if you can find out what's bothering her, that'd be nice. Honestly, I don't think it's the letter this time.
I'll see what I can do.
You make sure you keep yourself out of harm's way, alright?
Yeah, you too. Don't do anything reckless again.
Reckless, no. But I can't make you the promise I won't do anything. After seeing that, there's no way in hell I'm going to pretend there ain't a problem when there is. This is a really big one. And I'll be
After seeing
damned if
what,
I
the
let
dead guy?
anything happen to you guys while I sit here.
Then go with him. Oh my god.
I'm done running when things get tough.
He's about to argue for a moment, but
Look, bro, if things ain't good, I'll be the first one out. But allow me this one thing, alright? Just this one time. If it doesn't work out, you'll be the first one to know. You can laugh then, or berate me all you want. But please don't ask me to step aside like I'm incapable of doing anything to help.
I have no idea if it's the look on my face or the tone of my voice. Ultimately, although his mouth presses into a thin line, he nods.
All right. Stay safe, Zach.
When he stumbles into the sidewalk and allows the afternoon crowd to swallow him whole, I like to think the tiny gleam in his eye is the closest we can get to optimism in this situation. Whether that alone will be enough to give me a peaceful sleep tonight remains to be said. Night falls, and despite my best attempts, sleep continues to elude me. With her image still stuck in my head, flashing every few moments it catches me off guard, with Ma's lullaby still echoing in my ears, no longer the soft tune it once was, and the terrible gnawing at the pit of my stomach. It's no wonder I can't bring myself to drift off for even a little while. It's not as if there's a complete lack of things to do while waiting for sleep to come, if it ever will. And at 2:45 in the morning, I find myself cleaning my photography equipment for no other reason than just to pass time. Though if I am going to be honest, it is not the night terrors that are keeping me wide awake tonight, but the anxiety and the hope I'll hear from Ash or Isabella soon. And for what's perhaps the 42nd time, my eyes shift over to the end of the table where my phone still lies. I've not heard from them since they left. They haven't promised to call, of course, but a small part of me wishes they would have the common sense at the very least. Waiting is a tough game, and with the concern stretching out minutes far longer than usual, it's impossible for more pleasant thoughts to enter my mind. Moreover, it does not help that when the clock finally strikes 3, my hand stills. It'd be complete and utter lie to say my heart didn't leap straight to my throat in that brief second. My whole body has gone motionless, ears straining for any further sounds. A couple of tense seconds pass. Nothing. Of course, with how the old building I'm staying in, power fluctuations ain't anything new. Every now and then this would happen, leaving a few tenants in a rather bad mood. Nothing unusual anymore after a few years of living here, but this time, the sudden hush brings with it a stillness that raised the hair on the back of my neck and set my heart to breathing hard against my chest. Something reeks in the air, and in an instant this place is no longer home. It's a prison. Every rational fiber in my body screams at me to leave. I force myself to swallow and keep a clear head as I lay down all my cleaning tools and begin gathering the rest of my things scattered about on the table. What the fuck, man? The camera's body, lenses, filters, diffuser, phone, anything my hand could reach. But in the resulting panic, like in the nightmares, it's the scent that reaches me first. A foul, putrid smell filling my lungs with the heavy stink of death. My fingers clamped tightly onto the camera, holding it closer to my body as if the tiny thing would provide me with enough protection to whatever is with me in the room. It won't. But it's the only comfort I have. And knowing that whoever she is, she had once been human. Perhaps not all of it is gone. Perhaps some of it is still there.
Hello? I know you're in here. What do you want?
Something moves behind me. A soft scuttling over the walls, followed by the squelch of a painful creaking of what can only be rotten flesh and broken bones. Without hesitation, I whirl around, my fingers and cameras ready, patiently waiting for another movement.
I can help you. Whatever it is that keeps you here, I can help. That's what the letter's for, ain't it? You don't have to keep taking people's lives.
There's a brief moment of silence after, and for a short while I think my pleas worked. Then, with no warning, the shuffling resumes, and along with it are the sobs of a woman. There she is. We're in 4 QTEs in normal difficulty without skipping, huh? The light flashes feedingly one last time, allowing me a glimpse of her grotesque, misshapen features before it's once again lost in the darkness. All of a sudden, her tune changes. No longer a soft cry, but a high-pitched shriek, brimming with pain, grief, and anger. Every ounce of courage I've mustered flees my body at the sound, and the next thing I know, my hand is gripping the knob, and I'm wrenching the door open. Her wails follow me as I flee into the night. Pacing has always been more of Ashton's thing than mine. But I want to think I sit and let the minutes tick by until an idea comes to my mind or pulse settles down. And yet, dried leaves and twigs crack under my shoes as I make another pass at them. Terror is too mild to describe what this is. There's no way in hell I'm going back. Whatever she is, pleading won't work. The moment we saw that letter, she's been after us.
I can't run. Not this time.
Nearly 2 hours have gone by since I left the comfort of my room for the solitude of the park. 2 excruciating hours since I've started making calls. No one's answering. Not even Rebecca, who's always kept her phone line open in case other people need her. Or Isabella, who frequently checks hers for any messages and readily responds as soon as she can afford. God damn, dude, that's a lot of fucking words, man. It does not help that Ash hasn't said a word where he went off to as well.
Damn it! I knew I should have asked him before I let him leave.
Knowing him, he could be anywhere. But there's really only one place he'll likely be at this time. The sun has already peeked over the horizon when I make it to the mansion. I have no idea what I'm expecting to see when I got there. There's Ashton first and foremost. A part of me wishes my assumptions are correct and he's really somewhere close by on a stakeout. But I've never been the lucky sort when it comes to that kind of guessing. And even after I've made a round in the immediate vicinity, I can find neither hide nor hair of him. Calling him does no good either, considering how awful the signal there is. He can't be too far away if he's really here, but if he is, he would have already noticed me by now. Instead, there's only silence. The kind too quiet to find any sort of comfort in. Even the trees seem to have fallen asleep with the rest of the mansion, oblivious to what's happening around it. A small island of stillness in the otherwise fast-paced world. God damn, dude! You really like the fucking sound of your own voice, huh? No wonder the whole of Anselm feels at odds with the rest of Luxbourne. While the city is alive, growing every minute, breathing every second, and pulsating with life, the village remains unmoving, unchanged. It's not surprising the legends still live up to this day and why she's still here, walking its hallowed halls. And beyond me, the mansion looms ominously. But now ain't the time for fear. Even if Ash is not here, I've still got to let the Wrights know what I've seen, what's in their home. And whatever grievance Ash has with them doesn't matter. There might be grounds for imprisonment, but they don't deserve a brutal death at the hands of one malicious spirit. And I'm sure Isabella wouldn't want the same thing. I head straight for their door without a second thought. It takes a few rings, the sound loud above the foreboding stillness, before I hear footsteps on the other side.
Get it? Only a Nazi would knock at such an ungodly hour. Where's that damn butler when I need him?
Before long, the door swings open, with Mr. Luke Wright standing behind it. Seething would be a complete understatement to describe him. Like this, I've got no doubt why Ash would find him a suspect.
You? How the hell did you get in here? What in seven hells do you want? It's bloody 6 in the morning!
Listen, sir, I know this is not a good time.
Oh, it's not a good time. Did you even check the clock before coming here? I bet you didn't. Unlike you, the ones living in this house need to sleep. Come back when people are actually awake, or I'll call security on you.
Before I can get a word in, he slams the door in my face and bolts it shut with much finality.
Wait, sir, you gotta hear me out. You're both in danger if you stay in there. Have you seen the news lately? Everything's not a coincidence.
Only silence answers me. Maybe if it was Ms. Wright. Oh, who am I kidding? There are limits to how far a person will believe in you. Then again, I didn't believe Isabella when she warned us. And now I'm here, desperately trying to save people, even if I'm aware it's completely out of my own capacity to do so. Is this what they call karma? If so, this is one horrible way of turning things around. Taking people's lives, playing with people's fears, making them feel useless.
You're around, ain't you? You here? Inside this house? Listening, watching, or whatever it is that you spirits do? What did they do to you? I can help you, you know? If it'll let you move on, I'll gladly do so. You don't have to kill anyone.
Nothing. I don't even know who I'm talking to, or if the same person is supposed to be doing that. The only thing I got after is a feeling of foolishness washing over me. Or perhaps this is just me losing my mind. Out of other options and any other ideas, I let my hand slide off the door's surface and fall listlessly to my sides. I can go back to Luxbourne, try to find the others, try to get out of this mess with them. I'll let them know how much deep shit we are all in. Both sounds good. Either way, my loitering here ain't helping at all. I let the quietness calm me for a few more minutes before standing up and heading out to fetch my bike. It's quite a distance to Luxbourne, but if I hurry, I'll reach it in maybe... The rustling stops as soon as I turn around and strain my ears for any other movement around me.
Yo, Ash, you there?
No answer. If he is here, and I just missed him earlier, already my feet are moving in search of him for the second time. It won't hurt to double check. Triple check, even. With how big the property is, he could be anywhere. If things ain't so urgent, if they ain't so dire that lives are at stake, I probably just have waited for him to show up again.
But damn it! He needs to realize what exactly it is he's dealing with.
That is not just a petty criminal he can simply throw in jail. That is something beyond the authority of his police badge could ever give him. The guy needs to stop playing with the damn hero, playing the big damn hero. Sit down and chill. My breathing comes in short, shallow rasps by the time I make it back to where I started. Still no sign of him, and I'm beginning to think I'm just wasting my time here. But that's when I hear it. I recognize the melody in a heartbeat. Ma's favorite song. I listen for a while, trying to gauge exactly where in the house it's coming from. My feet starts moving before I can stop them, and there, as I circle a corner, from a room in the first floor, a single window is open, but I can't make out whoever's inside. However, I'm sure the singing comes from there. Still, why I'll hear an old tune here of all places I won't know. It's not an obscure song by any means, but it's pretty rare to find someone who knows this. And for some reason, death seems to follow this song around. Panic lodges itself at the base of my throat at once. Whoever's humming might be... I don't want to be the pessimist now, but on the off chance, is that Mrs. Wright?
Shit.
I shouldn't just barge in there. I can put myself in danger before I can save anyone. Ash will tell me so in the exact same... Dude, just go. Fucking kick the door. Somebody's screaming. Exigent circumstances. Get your ass in there. Might even write me a dissertation. What's a bad idea if I ain't so lazy. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Enter the open window. I can search for Ash, but what if it's too late by then? With how big this place is, he can be anywhere. And it's very likely by the time we come back, someone's already bit the dust. That and the cries grow louder against my ear the longer I linger. Almost impossible to ignore, drawing me in like a moth to a flame. For a moment, I let myself shudder, taking the uneasy feeling off my head. This can't be a good idea, not by a long shot. Still, I've got to try. Funnily enough, for a couple as high profile as the Wrights, they don't seem to have any security detail patrolling around. A few guards here and there, sure, but one would expect they'll have... Oh my god! So you're gonna write off your own fucking dissertation before you go to where the danger is. Go to where the person is screaming. Fucking hell. Get in the fucking door. Luckily the window's wide enough for me to fit through without making any noise. There's certainly no going back now. But as soon as I step into the parlor, all of it ceases. Well, I find no trace of the woman I heard crying like I'm expecting to. The room is still empty at this time of the morning, and I'm left standing awkwardly in the middle of the hush. Maybe she just hid
Hello?
somewhere?
Are you here? I heard someone earlier, and I'm here to help.
Hoping for an answer, I let the question hang in the air. Several seconds merely go by without a word, or the slightest movement to indicate there is someone in here. Has been here. With the stories I've heard, the things I've seen, it takes effort to keep my brain going in that line of thought.
I'm not going to hurt you. If you're here, say something.
Nothing. Am I just hearing things? No, I'm pretty sure I heard someone. But with no one responded, I can't help but feel silly like this. And the awareness that I've just trespassed a house for nothing because of some voice prickles at me. Suddenly the silence feels uncomfortable, and a needling anxiety slowly creeps up my back. I should get out what I can. If it ain't here, it ain't here. I don't spare the room another glance when I walk back the way I came. Out into the window, leave before someone else
I thought I heard a
notices.
servant moving around here. Turns out it's just a rat scurrying about. How unpleasant.
My heart shoots up into my throat. I can run. The window is a few steps away. I should be able to escape. But instead, out of some foolish impulse, I turn around. Perhaps it's because the only impression the guy has left me in what a few times we met is nothing but unsettling.
This ain't what you think it is.
You're quite the distance from the kitchen, I'm afraid. Perhaps I should lead you there.
Someone's in here before me. I wasn't here for what you're thinking. There was sobbing and...
The first blow knocks the wind out of me, sending me heaving and crumpling to my knees. Tears well up in my eyes as pain swells when he twists my wrist behind my
You gotta
back.
listen to me.
Then again, dirty thieves aren't welcome in my kitchen either.
For a moment there was only silence and a sudden piercing ache, this time at the back of my head. The room abruptly tilts on its axis, dimming. On the verge of unconsciousness, I can only hear the scuffling of foot, the thud of the door being closed, and a woman crying, asking for help. I know no more. The pain is the worst when I come to. A sharp, piercing ache somewhere at the back of my head begging to be noticed. But it's nothing I can't handle. Clearly, I open my eyes expecting to be greeted by sunlight. However, the walls that welcome me are unfamiliar. When everything comes into focus, I recognize the place for what it is. A cell. A dark, cramped with only the light coming in from the moon outside, streaming through the sole window barred by thick metal bars. Memory rushes back to me in sharp bursts. The mansion, looking for Ashton, a familiar tune, and a woman crying. All while my head still aches from the hit I've
Still
received.
better than a morgue, I guess.
Gingerly, I pull myself up, stretching the cramps in my shoulders as I do so, but stopping when a sudden movement induces an acute stinging pain right through my arm.
Damn, they got me good. What time is it?
As expected, they've taken everything I have on my person. Wallet, cell phone, my keys, meds, even a small pack of gum. Protocol is protocol. In the first place, getting back in another cell ain't in my agenda. The first time was not a pleasant experience, and this certainly won't be either. Considering who is likely to put me in here, it could be much worse. The bars are cold to my touch when I approach it, looking for the person on duty. They'd usually allow us to contact someone, and Ashton, at least, has to know I'm here. He'll be pissed, that I am quite sure of, but he's the only one who can help prove my innocence and get me out. However much I don't want to rely on him for this. The hallway in front of the cell is empty, but voices float through further in. Likely the poor officers assigned to late night duty. Judging from the snippets of conversation I catch, today's topic over a snack is that moron who thought it's wise to cross the rights. They used other names too, most of which I'll like to have words with them about in the future. But really, I'm in no position now.
Excuse me? Anyone?
Silence.
Excuse me! I need to make a...
Blood freezes in my veins and my grip on the bars tightens. I don't dare turn, because more than the haunting melody, I'm afraid of what I'll see. Of who's singing Ma's lovely lullaby. A death song. That's what it is now. But I guess that's what it's always been. If this is the end's calling, prefer that it is not her vicious smile that I see
Oh,
last.
Zach, sweetie. Don't you love this song?
My head snaps up in surprise and I swivel to see Miss Wright. Miss Wright of all people sitting on the cot. Her smile is easy and sweet as ever.
Miss Wright, what are you... how did you...
I jostle the cell door to check. A prison break is the least thing on my mind, of course, but her presence here begs for a lot of puzzling questions to be answered. Locked tight. Was I just too groggy earlier that I didn't notice her?
Don't be surprised, darling. Money and power can get you anything.
She has a point. Out of all the people, she knows more than anyone how to play that game in the world. Yet to hear it straight out of her, it's like talking to a different person. I don't bring this up, however. Perhaps she's having a bad day or a tiff with her husband. After the incident the other day at their party, well, I don't like to gossip, but it won't be surprising. Anyone can say the strangest things when in a bad mood. Still and all,
You ain't supposed to be here, Miss Wright.
Why ever not? Isn't it comfortable here?
Well, it is, kind of. But you're still not supposed to be on this side of the cell. Besides, it's too early. Or too late for a visit. This is beyond the scheduled hours.
how the fuck would you know?
Oh, I'm sure Chief Inspector Lee wouldn't mind a little chat between friends. Besides, his prison officers just snoring in the break room.
She brushes off a lock of hair from her shoulders, stands up and meanders around the length of the cell, for whatever space it would allow. As if this is just a simple stroll in the park, making a show of checking every scratch the past occupants of the room has left on its walls. Nevertheless, I try to make myself small against the corner. Any closer and we'll be crossing each other's personal spaces. Frankly, that's more than I'm comfortable
Be
with.
that as it may, they have cameras here too. How are you going to explain that when they check?
That doesn't matter, dear.
It does. Your popularity ain't going to give you any kind of immunity from the law.
Bullshit.
I appreciate the visit, but I'd rather not see you get into trouble.
It makes her stop. But just as I'm starting to think I finally reasoned
You
with
don't
her...
want to get out of here.
Of course I do. But you don't have to do anything. It's my fault. I'll find a way out of this mess.
You did bring it to yourself.
This really is just a misunderstanding, Hana. I didn't mean to trespass. If you'll just listen to the whole story, you'll know I didn't mean to do it.
I'm really disappointed in you.
I looked straight at her, at the sudden change of her tone, checking for any signs if I've upset her with what I did. Of course she would be. She has every right to. After all that talk, the little attempts to build a friendship, here I went and broke into another person's house. Her home. On so many levels beyond any kind of friendship, it's still wrong. Her anger doesn't come as I'm expecting it to, however. Instead, she smiles. A horrid little smile I didn't think I'd ever see from her.
Breaking into our home. Disturbing my love in his sleep. You've upset my Prince Zack. You've really upset him.
Hana?
Panic swells in me, ripping up my spine. Irrational, I know. You shouldn't feel this way about anyone you know. But here I am, backing away, trying to keep an ample distance between the two of us. I'm afraid, wholly afraid of her. This ain't Hana. The bars rattle as soon as my shoulder hits it. A hindrance, not to freedom, but to safety.
Has anyone ever told you how beautiful those eyes of yours are?
My Nana? Occasionally my sister. Hana? You alright?
She laughs, a deranged little thing coming from her. There's no cheer in it, no warmth, only spite.
Makes me want to take them home, wrap them in those pretty ribbons I have in my vanity. I'm pretty sure my prince would love it, don't you think, Zachary? A little gift from me.
Stay away from me!
She moves in short, sudden, bone-crunching twitches that are far too painful for me to watch. I want to look away, but I can't. I'm screaming for help before I know it, jolting the bars with as much force as I could.
Somebody! Get me out of here! Anyone, please!
Bugger off! Some people are trying to get some sleep here!
No! She's here! You've got to let me out! She's gonna kill me! Someone! She's...
Oh, you poor thing. Don't you worry. You won't even feel the pain.
That's a bad thing. Dude, you're a giant man, and she may be infused with a ghost, but she's a tiny woman. Break her fucking neck. Dude, don't go out on your knees. If you've got to go out at all, go out fighting. Punch her in the goddamn face. Well, what beautiful eyes you have. Get a visit from Hana. Next chapter, huh? You've unlocked a memory fragment. Okay. Marianne. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to try to talk Irish. The numbers are so little on the top of my screen, and they glare at me with such intensity that I can just hear their accusations. I'm late for a night out with the girls, yes, but I have a perfectly good excuse. Jeez. Considering I didn't follow typical office hours, they can't really expect me to be able to just go and please at 5:30 on the dot. The client is, first and foremost, my priority. I have to sit tight when my personal assistant Chris tells me we have a big one coming up, and I shouldn't miss this one. He knows a lot more on the who's who and the what's what when it comes to these socialities, and I trust that judgment call. I really don't have time for rich people, their drama and their politics. These sort who were born with silver spoons in their mouth, and who were used to wagging their silver tongues about. I let him handle the negotiating with them for the most part. Why else would I have hired him? They told me I'd received a message about it an hour ago.
Now, if only he has the full shilling when it comes to the time.
Come on. I have a social life too, you know. To an extent. Sort of. Pressing my head against the table, I try to stave off an incoming headache when the notification of a new email pops up. All I'm expecting is a, hey, this looks like a good project I found, go send them a design. Or something like that, really. That's often how it goes. Even with these rich jammy clients who's heard of me from their equally rich jammy friends, can't expect them to hire me right off the bat. Which is all well and good and reasonable. We figure out what they want, send them my portfolio, my drafts for their projects, my rates, and hope for the best. This is a big client, Marianne. I'll babysit Boothville for you. Just please take this one project. I promise this person is huge in Luxbourne. Mr. Parker, this is a formal request to secure the services of Marianne McCullough, hereinafter called the designer. As authorized by Hannah Wright, hereinafter called the client, for interior design work at Armageddon Mansion, Luxembourg in United Kingdom. The client hopes to have the designer there on 21 October, Friday, with the time pending. But as I open the mail, I see that I've been requested by the client specifically. Well, I certainly didn't expect that, and it's pretty straightforward too. Anyone else would probably be excited. They would be working with the Hannah Wright. She's just one of those rich socialites that everybody loves to talk about, no matter how hard I try to tune such nonsense out. It would have been enough for me to play an affirmative to Chris to leave, but he has never pleaded for me to take a project before. We've worked with big personalities in the past, celebrities, bankers, even a few politicians. My PA has been indifferent about those. Well, the question bounced about my skull before I spy one of the email attachments. A newspaper clipping from the Luxbourne's daily business news section boasting the headline, Wright Enterprises donates £2.5 million to refuge. It certainly caused quite a stir back then. Apparently, they had invited up businessmen and socialites everywhere in the guise of it being some big business announcement.
2.5 mil and an expensive looking party to boot. These people sure know how to throw their money around.
Not that I should be so callous. They're going to do a lot of good and help a community of people with all those pounds. I, of all people, shouldn't criticize such acts when they were so for naught. At the very least, I'll know they'll be able to pay my rates. With the headline out of the way, however, I find myself staring at the picture that came along with the clipping. Because wow, here I am, expecting a sad old woman in a blazer and a skirt. But the woman that was plastered on the front page looks like she belongs on the front page of the entertainment section, or even, if I'm to be crass, as a pin-up for the glamour. Okay, I'll be real here, a men's magazine. She knows how to rock that dress. Wait, not her hair, her eyes, her lips. It can't be her. At the same time, she is her, only 7 years older. She looks just like... Oh, come on, Mac. The world is full of pretty blondes. It's just a coincidence. With a shake of my head, I snap out of it and reach out for my phone when it buzzes, nearly falling off my chair in the process. Who else will be on the other end of the line but the very people waiting for me?
Piss, I'm so sorry, Cam. I'm on my way.
That's what I say. Yet I still don't move from my chair, face flushed and heart racing. I can only stare until I will myself to reply that yes, I'm accepting the assignment. It takes even more time for me to just close the image, shut down the computer and leave. Even then, it's already burned its image into my head, no matter how much I wish it would just disappear. It makes me eager for the alcohol and the company. It makes me eager for anything that can help me forget. It's a good thing that this pub is just a hop, skip and a jump from here. The Galway Shawl, as it's called by those who frequented the place, is the only decent Irish pub in the county. You can pretty much tell that someone is new if they call it by its official name, the Crawl Bar. My home away from home is ever since I've moved to Luxbourne. Well, that is when I'm not cooped up in my condo and working away. It has good alcohol, good company. Thank God in St. Cecilia, good music. Crowd favourites like the Bathing Noise, High Wesleyan Men, and Second Fusion Orchestra are often played. Not to mention the singing. I love singing. Anyone could just break out into a drinking song and the others in the pub were just wonderful that they'd start singing along. And doing so while intoxicated is the best way to go about. It's a win-win, as long as I don't puke in the middle of the chorus and as long as I can get home in one piece at the end of the day. And tonight is karaoke night. What better time than to try and sing all my worries away? That's what my intoxicated brain tells me.
The ghost of guilt and sorrow remembers who I am, and in the prison of my heart, I was my only slave.
That's awful. That is fucking bloody awful. But drinking only reminds me of my home, and the thought of home makes me think of her.
But in the depths of my
Oh, God.
soul, I'll leave the burden and despair.
Jesus Christ. It makes me nauseous. It sickens me that the smallest reminder of her can cause me such grief.
I'll fight for what's worth.
Of course, that might just be the booze. The other day I would have scolded myself for drinking so much.
I lied to the Lord.
But I already have a client, and we'll be having our first little meet and greet in a few days.
Cowardice is easier than because people can lie.
I want to at least enjoy this night, get over the hangover tomorrow, and return to being a prim and proper professional after.
That song was for Cam, our lucky bride-to-be. So give her a hand, Galway shawl.
Considering the state I'm in, one can excuse my smoke grin as cheers and applause rise among the pub's patrons. Because, possibly off-key public singing aside, I feel like I'm on top of the world right now, and that's a good reason as any to belt out in front of these strangers. With good drinks and good friends, there's nowhere else I'd rather be tonight. And I forget for a short while.
And that song was brought to you by Marianne McCullough, everyone! A round of applause!
I'm tired, man. This game is taking it out of me.
That was so good. You rock, Marianne.
Oh, please stop. You're just saying that.
You know neither of us can hold a tune, Marianne. A toast to our shameless drunk singer. May your drinks forever flow and your notes be ever lovely.
If anyone deserves a toast tonight, that's Cam. Finally sealed the deal after 3 years, eh?
Read 'em and weep, bitches.
Pamela's diamond engagement ring gleams as she holds it for all the world to see. She has reasons to be proud. 3 years of living together and her boyfriend finally asked the big question. Obviously she said yes.
Don't get too attached to that ring or the one after, sweetie. I was wearing a wedding ring not so long ago and look at where I am. But enough of me being a downer. Cheers to a happy engagement!
Of course, if something like Haruna's divorce were to happen, I'd be there for Cam. Just as Cam had been there for me, looking more than just my yoga instructor. I can't be happier for my friend now.
Cheers!
Cheers.
Well, we both will be there for Cam, won't we, Haruna and I? Haruna, it's been a real bad year for her ever since our divorce. She's such a nice person, even loaning me money to open a studio. and she didn't deserve what her husband pulled. I'm happy she's smiling again and peeking out like she used to. I think we all missed our Japanese firecracker. We met in yoga class, something I had joined to keep myself in shape and, well, honestly, so that I could make friends when I moved to Luxburn. Clearly it worked like a charm. And definitely didn't have anything to do with the fact that I brought along my lucky D20 die with me on that first day. No, sir. What the fuck? I love these girls so much.
What about you, Marianne? You're 30 years old and you still haven't got yourself a man.
That's because she's into chicks.
And you guys know I have a very busy schedule. I don't have time for that.
Oh, come on. That's a lame excuse and you know it. You need a man who'll take care of you and you need it now. Maybe some hunk will be your house hubby while you rake in the dough.
You need a man to take care of you. Are we sure this was written in Japan and not by a junior high fucking drama student?
I'm quite capable of taking care of myself. Who needs a Mr. Right?
Damn straight.
Hey, look at me. I'm Marion McCullough, a lawful neutral cleric with 9 points in wisdom and 8 in charisma, but I can't get myself a date.
Wow, that is super D&D talk, man. Did you find that in a fucking Wikipedia? I'll mention druids and demons once. Once? They don't even know the rules or understand what the numbers mean. I certainly am not some sort of holy person. I'm a far cry from a miracle worker, and I barely have the willpower to fight off demons. Especially my own.
Actually, maybe she isn't looking for a Mr. Right, but a Mrs. Right. Oh, my Marianne, we still love you even if you're in the closet.
That would explain some things. Howdy now, you don't have a ring anymore. Maybe you two can be together and I don't have to worry about my best girls being alone.
What are you on about? There's nothing to explain.
But the more I deny, the louder they tease until the other people in the pub start to watch. It doesn't help at all when Haruna drapes her arm over my shoulders and leans in.
Will I be all yours then? Will you be making me feel like a woman?
The correct answer to that is yes. Yes, you will. I know that they're just kidding around. This doesn't make me comfortable in the slightest. So when Kamala notices my silence and Haruna sees the expression on my face, they stop. And when the awkward air settles over us, the rest of the pub goes back to whatever they were doing before the whole thing ever happened. They probably won't even remember it when they wake up with massive hangovers anyway.
Sorry.
Me too.
Hey, no hard feelings, right?
I'll raise my glass. They smile. We drank. There's no need to say more. We're all definitely far too drunk tonight. What kind of Irish person would say she's too drunk? I'm sorry, but that's not in their vocabulary. Eventually the fun times end. It is a weekday after all. Okay, so I'm gonna save the little lady of the house needs a hand. So I'm going to go give her a hand. But before I do that, let's raid out. I will be back. Thanks for anybody that was watching. Let's see. As I always say, don't feel like you are obliged to raid along with me. If you need to go have a drink, if you need to have a sandwich, if you need to go take a nap, do whatever you need to do. But if you will wait just a few more moments, you will put a smile on my face. In the meantime, we are going to raid Cyber Mermaid Comet. Because Comet's awesome, and I haven't raided her in forever. So, thanks everybody for watching. I may come back tonight. I don't know. It depends. We'll see how it works. Have a good night.